recording. 3, 2, 1. We're already recording. Oh my goodness, we're off to a great start. Hello, everybody. We're here with a fantastic episode of the Apex Coalition show for y'all. I'm joined right now, at least, by Curn and King, Lord Emperor Hoot. We've got Lippy in the call, but he is hurtling home at 90 miles an hour from Panda Express, and Dr. Hunter Clinton might be joining us. We have Monstar in the call too, so we've got a great show for y'all. We're going to be going over our Apex draft, and we're going to be talking about Week 1 and kind of recapping the Thursday night game, which has already happened. It is Friday, September 9th, and we have just watched the Ravens get blasted.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you fine, Curn, and that actually leads me to you.
We're hooked up.
Curn, as commissioner of Apex, how do you feel the draft went for the league as a whole? Did you like what you saw from your league mates? Did you enjoy the 3 hours of abuse you got on the call? What are your thoughts? Just recapping the draft.
Just big, just high level overview, not getting in the weeds yet.
Right. Not we're gonna go into the players as
Sure.
The teams individually here in a second.
Sure. High level, once again. Another very successful draft. Sorry, King Hoot. I kind of put my foot down because I figured my thought process was I feel like if any one of these other dudes in the league invited people who I didn't know in, I might get a little triggered. So it's such a sanctifying, wonderful, sacrament that we have with the draft room, just to keep it in house at least for this year and a few years going forward, but maybe in a few years.
Yeah.
So maybe in a few years, or maybe over some time when everyone gets acclimated, we can start having other folks in. So I want to keep it a little more.
Once integration is complete.
Yeah, no, no worries at all. I was happy to accept the invite. I was also happy to understand and respect the sanctity. But I mean, Kev, to be honest, you don't need to go through this whole song and dance. You really wanted me to stay out so I wouldn't roast you for taking Mike Davis. That's really what is happening here. As I look at your squad, I realize that is the real reason.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that real easily. So yeah, but yeah, high level, just from just being involved, and how hype everyone was, and seeing everyone making some smart moves. I think it was a very successful draft. I liked how a lot of guys. It was the first year with a lot of players available, and it was interesting to see where all the money went. So that was interesting, and
I
definitely, So definitely looking at after Thursday Night Football, I see a lot of wins, a lot of losses, but it's to be seen how the rest of the draft unfolds. How will turn out.
Well, let's
now, Alexander, question.
Yeah, Lippy,
are we going to go through team by team? And kind of analyze, or what's your plan for the pod today, sir?
So I wanted everyone to kind of have input on that, but I think what we could do, and this is of course totally up to y'all. This is a league and podcast of the people. This is not state-run media, as Jack would say. This is people-run media. But I guess what I would like to do is we'll go team by team. But since we have such a glamorous guest star, a famous panelist in King Hoot, I guess what I would like to do is get his just things that jump off the page to him as he's looking at it, and then we can go team by team, just get an outsider's perspective right from the get go, and then we'll go team by team and kind of dissect the teams.
So to hop in from my side, I don't understand y'all's valuation. It seems like, okay, so this is a keeper league, right? Because some of these values are wild.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. So every team had 2 keepers, and every team elected to keep 2. So Michael Pittman did not go open market for $3.
If you want to see who the keepers are, go to results and just look at the first 24 players. Those are all just auto-assigned
correct
players that will be,
okay,
excluded from the draft. So you can you'll have to do a little back and forth if anything sticks out too crazy, but anyone who looks like they went for ridiculously cheap was probably.
Well, wait, does that work for this Curn?
How's what?
Does the results thing work? Because my first result pick is Breece Hall.
Mine as well.
Strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess let me run through it really quickly.
Oh, you know why? Because I had to change. I had to go change like a keeper last minute. I had to change the whole Kcole thing. So I think, regardless.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess I can get it enough.
Sure.
It's not that big.
Outside of Breece Hall, every single other player seems to be a keeper. Looking at them.
Okay, I can get it. I can get it close enough.
Yeah.
Looking at it, what it seems to me is that there is such a high value market from y'all on the top receivers and running backs. Like
The running backs go crazy.
There are not a lot of dudes in here who draft kind of like I do in an auction, which you all have. Well, some of you have potentially witnessed. Which is I'm very frugal in the beginning and like to really build out my bench. This is a lot of the same strategy, which it seems like you all kind of went at the idea of we want to get the stars we want to build around, and then we'll basically just effectively snake draft at the end and let people just kind of bid $1 or $2.
So, myself and Bevo and generally do that strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is with the keepers, once you get through, people spend the money, and then when you're left with the money, you end up spending $27 on Allen Robinson because you have no choice. Or if you look over at Monstar's team, he spent $8 on Zamir White because he just had so much money left at the end. He tried to save up his money, but then you have just a bidding war because you have two people left with money with the last guy on the tier. So when it gets to keepers, it's tough.
I get that. I see that. I would have gone. I don't know. Again, I'm just trying to look at overarching things. It seems like the strategy that y'all take is pretty much there's a high push at the top. Like everyone wants to get 2 or 3 first round draft picks.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
Hunter does it every year.
Yeah, he does. And follow up to that, Hoot. When I was on the phone with Curn, when he formally called me to invite me to this league, I asked him, hey, so I've never done an auction before, Curn, as much as I give you shit about how I'm going to just beat the shit out of you in this league. Like, dude, you got to give me some pointers. He told me these words, and he told them to me twice. He said it once and said it right after it. He said, get the studs. And then he said it again, get the studs. And that is absolutely this league's mantra of get the stars, get the studs, get the players that you think have the ability to pop off. And so that's why I think doing auction drafts on Sleeper is so silly, because no matter how good the bots are, let's say the bots are incredible, they're not going to draft like any individual league will, because every league I feel like is very different, and there's variance of how people draft in that league. But I think it's very interesting, and your point is spot on about it being ridiculous sometimes about where people are putting money, and I'm a part of that. So
I think the premium falls to wide receivers at the top too, but you'll see by my draft, I just couldn't take these guys at some of their prices for running back value. Like it was so much for me where I wasn't keeping a running back. I knew that if I wanted to get elite running backs, I'd basically be gutting the rest of my roster out. And so, it might be a mistake for me personally, but I mean, that's what I noticed this year specifically. And I even drew out I was just mesmerized by it. If you look at it, I mean, just based on ADP, it was JT, CMC, King Henry. It was just 8 elite running backs, 10 elite running backs going for 59 plus. It's just, that's a lot to ask for right now. I just, maybe I'm off base, but it was just, heavy money. $32 CEH, fucking a $27 Monty, $27 Elijah Mitchell. I even got in on it and I couldn't help myself because they were just going so fast. I guess I'll take Rashad Penny for $21. It was fuck, they were just going for so much. But it's
we'll get to that pick in a minute. I guess let's start off here. We will, because we've got Curn and Lippy on, and y'all are on the far right of the board. Let's just start. We'll go right to left. Doesn't Japan read right to left? Or is it Arabic right to left? I'm not sure.
Jews. It's the Jews, sir.
Okay, well, then in that fashion, we'll start with the Hebrew hammer.
Let's go.
So Lippy, what we'll do for those of us that are on, you could give a brief soapbox about your team, about your draft strategy, and then I'd love everyone else to kind of chip in and talk about the team. So, Lippy,
So-
you have the floor.
As you can see from looking at the draft board, we were able to keep Dillon and Dobbins for a 23 total, which gave us a nice little base. So going into the draft, I knew I was going to spend 60 plus on a running back. Question was who. It ended up being Saquon for 64. I do love Saquon, but in hindsight, I probably would have rather just gotten Kamara for a couple bucks more, or just gone all the way up to Henry or CMC instead of just ending up with Saquon. But he was the end of the tier at the end of the day. After him, I think Chubb already won at that point. I'm not sure. Have to look at the results. And then we just kind of scooped up the wide receiver value. Not pretty happy with Amon. Pretty happy with Hopkins. Can't complain about Devontae or Kirk. Olave. I mean, nice little wide receiver value. Picked up Walker as an RB4. Goddard at tight end. If we could ignore the Robinson Stafford stack, I'm pretty happy.
Well,
Problem is that's a pretty important part of the team.
Yeah, so we'll get into this more with the recap, but any statements currently on Robinson and Stafford?
You can't sell them. You just got to walk. It's an ugly situation. Robinson's probably going to see it's tough, but he's got a nice matchup next week. He may see the bench, he may not. We'll see what happens. Right now, he's leaning towards getting benched.
As a Robinson owner myself, I did. There's one of the Twitter guys, like fantasy Twitter guys. I forget who it was, so I can't shout him out on this. But sent out the all 22 footage of just every route that he ran, and it's not bad. Like Stafford just isn't looking at it, and that's an issue. But I don't think that's going to be as big an issue against worse defenses. So I still think it's too early.
There's a few of those crossers that they like to run where they have the low high crosser. He was the high cross, and he was open. It just. I mean, they showed it a few times. Just the timing wasn't good there, so he went to the underneath guy. So there was chances. He just.
I mean, yeah, Indy had probably 1.5 Mississippis to throw the ball every snap. So, so Lippy, I'm curious about your team stepping away from the Robinson Stafford thing, because we'll talk about that a little bit more later. One thing that I was looking at the league yesterday because I was so excited. It was Christmas morning, or I guess it was second Christmas morning. Draft is first Christmas, first day of football, second Christmas. With Dillon and Hopkins, you have two players, one kept, one drafted, that are certifiably probably not playing week one. Certainly in Hopkins' case, it doesn't look like Dobbins is playing.
Dobbins is a question mark for sure.
And I guess when you kept Dobbins, did you go into the draft wanting something like Hopkins, or was that just something that happened naturally with the draft?
I very much wanted Hopkins.
Yeah.
End of day, he's been gone for 6 weeks. He could come back and be a good 12 to 15 point guy every single week.
Mm-hmm.
He was still a nice target last year for Kyler, and hopefully the PEDs worked for him.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
end of day, if he doesn't have a suspension, he goes for at least double more than that. Was able to find some value elsewhere. Got the wide receiver one theoretically at Jacksonville. Got Devontae Smith, who did just win the Heisman. He's not a bad receiver himself. So we'll be able to fill the gap of not having both of them for a little while.
Okay. Curn, do you have any thoughts on Lippy's squad?
I like AJ Dillon and JK. Saquon was on my big board. He was a target for sure. I like him too. This looks like a typical throwback setup that I would usually start with if I kept two running backs. Usually I like to keep two discount running backs so I can at least splurge on one big one and then try to hit on some of these lower tier wide receivers that have upside. So, I have no problems with it overall. I think it was a tough week one with the Rams. Their offensive line looks so shitty too. So, that might be why Stafford's first fucking look every 5 minutes was Cup. If you're wondering why I'm salty, Hoot, I'm playing dipshit on the phone right now who has Cup. You can scroll to the left a little bit and see he kept him for $20 fucking. You can see how good he made his his team with that. So I had to watch 17 fucking catches last night of just ANF going at Curn. Oh, did you see another one? Like, yes, ANF, I saw the fucking catch. I saw every single one. So anyway, maybe that's why they looked at him the entire time. So hopefully the offensive line gets together a little better. The Bills did just look like the Bills looked fucking ruthless in the trenches. Like Von Miller looked like just vintage. Just it was a surgical performance by him. But I mean, anyway, yeah, like I have no qualms with Lippy's team. I mean, yeah, we'll just see. Saquon has to be at that price point. He has to be what I think he can be. He has to be. Otherwise, he's in a tough spot. And that's kind of where I was when, like, after that tier of one running backs went, I just, like, I'm not going to buy CEH on these players. So I like how you got the last bit of the tier and you're banking on that. And that's what it takes to win. You got to bank on the upside.
Well,
also, I think Dylan's going to have a great year. He may be an RB1 this year. I mean, might sneak in, at RB11, RB10, but Dylan's going to have a very nice year this year.
I think he probably will too. I don't know about RB1, but I think he'll be an RB2.
Sneaking to that RB10 spot isn't too difficult if you get enough catches and enough touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm looking at your team again. You got a lot of dudes who are you're definitely playing like the end of the year. You're trying to survive to start because you got JK, you got Hopkins, you got Walker, you got Rondell. Like a lot of these dudes are going to be second half performers. If you can survive, you might really come up. I do like that. Like I do like going into a season knowing that you're going to be at your strongest at the end of the year, or being hoping for that. Like that upside.
The only problem with that is you can't sell players off of lows at the end of the day. It's not a winning strategy to sell players when they're at their lowest.
So they have a very liquid league, as you can imagine, because Lippy's here. I like to trade, and you'll see, you'll come on the pod probably next Thursday, next Friday, and Lippy's whole team will be a little shaken up as well as all of ours. We like to talk how we don't like to trade, but we're gonna have lots of trades probably.
You say that, Curn, but I can't move Dobbins. I can't move A-Rob, Stafford.
Yeah, Lippy,
I'll
give you 8 fab for Robinson.
I do think you probably hold Lippy, or you make a very aggressive I know you, Lippy. You're good at reading the market. You'll do something. You'll do something snaggy. Like I'll get a notification saying trade complete. And see you sold Saquon for fucking you'll have sold Saquon to fucking dipshit over here for Darrell Henderson, DJ Moore, and Amari Cooper. I'm gonna be like, huh.
Darrell Henderson is an RB1. That's
and
part of why AJ Dillon isn't making it.
I'll be like, well, that's kind of interesting. And then next week, fucking Amari Cooper goes off and Darrell Henderson goes off, and I'm just like, well, fuck me. Like there it is. Something like that will happen. But
Curn, I'm done trading. I'm a changed man.
I'm proud of you. One day at a time, Lippy.
I'm a changed man.
Lippy's done trading. Curn, we're gonna go to your team, and you. So Hoot, for some insider information, you said you knew why you weren't allowed in the chat, and that's because of how Curn Tilt drafted. You also missed his. I mean, I would say probably just under 3 solid hours of being taunted and abused by our entire chat. So much so that he lashed out so violently.
He did.
He had to apologize after the draft to the group me about some of the vile things he said.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm clear my
Curn, we have the records. We have the records.
I've heard quite a few apologies for the record.
Yeah, thank you, Monstar.
Monstar, I forgot you're even here, dude. Hey, what's up, dude? Look. The only voice Annie could hear because I had headphones on was me. So obviously, when she heard me calling y'all maggots of the machine and saying that y'all had hollow skulls and saying that y'all are my worms, I mean, yes, that's not going to look great. But when you're missing the other half of the conversation of ANF going, Curn, you fucking turd, Curn. All right. I'm gonna be very brief here, and you can maybe see what I'm thinking here. But I mean, look, I'm not typically an all-in wide receiver guy. That's never been my style. We just did a draft the other night. You saw that right after I took Josh Allen, I went 2 running backs straight up. Well, I took Diggs, but then I just hammered running backs. I've always liked to build my team from a lot of RB depth with upside, and then flow myself through 1 or 2 good, solid wide receivers, and basically stream wide receiver. That's always been my play. But if you look at this board, Hoot, and anyone else who's not familiar who's listening, like it's an insane premium to pay for some of these dudes. Like, I am not paying $40 for Cam Akers. I'm not paying $25 for Josh Jacobs. I'm not paying fucking $24 for fucking Chase Edmonds. I'm not paying $32 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know I buckled and just fucking panicked and bought Rashad Penny because I guess there were literally none left.
I
And y'all
like
are
that.
bidding
I
up.
won't. No, it's your time. It's your time. I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to that in a second.
You fucking, yeah, like, I mean, look, like, at some point I fell into the clown show, and that was honestly, that's my least favorite pick of my whole
Yeah.
team. I wish I had just embraced it and kept going with it.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, I got J. Jeff for, comparably, if you look at my ADP board based on the values, he's the 110. Which, I mean, on my big board going into this draft, he was like my 104. Like, he was like, I had JT, CMC, and King Henry over him, and that's it. Like, I'd rather take fucking JT over Austin Eckler at this point. And so, yeah, like, I thought, like, when I saw the price, I was like, that's a value. I mean, I saw Lamb. I saw Lamb go for like less than fucking, like, Cam Akers went for that price. Evans went for that price. Nick Chubb went over him. Like, I mean, I would take CeeDee Lamb over all those dudes. That made sense to me. Swift is probably where I would cut it off. And so, looking at the board, a $34 fucking CeeDee Lamb, like, sure, like, that's the value that's going to play. If y'all are all going to come in here and do clown show shit and draft really shitty running backs who don't catch passes, who have no upside for way too much, I have to fucking zag. And so I let this wide receiver value fall to me, and I ended up with Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, and T. Higgins in the flex. And, I built my bench with a bunch of, like, shot-in-the-dark running backs. I have a starter for this week with Rashad Penny and Mike Davis, and that's where we're at.
Do you actually?
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. Kenneth Walker's not starting right now. He's fucking out. And, if they rush J.K. Dobbins back to split carries with Mike Davis week 1, I have enough firepower with my tight end and my rest of my bench, my starting roster, to really hold strong. Look at some of these other starting rosters. Starting KJ Osborne and fucking, like, Jerry Jeudy and fucking Christian Watson and, like, George Pickens and, like, all these fucking dudes, like, fucking, I don't know. I'm not going to fucking do it. So,
just to
my
be
thought
super fucking
process.
clear, George Pickens is nowhere near my starting lineup.
That's fair. That's fair. That should be worth.
Totally
that should
fair.
be said. That should be said.
Well, AJ Green's going to go great in there, Monstar. All I'm saying is,
Also not in the starting lineup.
the last thing I'm going to say is, because of how liquid this league is, the main thing is I have extremely marketable wide receivers to where
I'll agree with that.
even moments after the draft, literally 5 DMs about offering me random ass running backs for package deals. If I wanted, if this crashes and burns, I can liquidate any 4 of those wide receivers plus a fucking one of these bench guys for somebody if I really have to. So,
Curn, I will say this.
the difference is if someone with these running backs, like we just saw with Cam Akers for $40, he can't liquidate him for shit. He's lost all his value. If I come out week 1 and CeeDee Lamb posts a 3-catch for 25-yard performance, he retains so much value regardless. That's the benefit of having, I would argue, 3 wide receiver 1s, maybe a borderline high-end wide receiver 2 with T. Higgins. So that's my soapbox. I have Brian Robinson, fucking Plaxico Burress in the IR, fucking hibernating, and I've got a bunch of fucking pass-catching running backs that I can just throw into my fucking starting lineup to just, I don't know, give me a floor. So that's where I pivoted.
Curn, I spoke with Andy Waters earlier this week. He convinced me CeeDee Lamb is not good. So that's all I got to say. Don't be surprised if CeeDee Lamb is in the top 20 wide receiver this year.
Oh, that'd be so wild.
I have no idea like what basis or merit that comes off of. I mean, like, if Jalen Tolbert comes out and plays CeeDee Lamb, then we all have bigger problems. I just don't see how you look at the Dallas offense and what's happening and say anything else besides he's just going to get peppered with love.
So Curn, I know you've already said your pity pick is your least favorite. What I will say, and other people were down on this pick, Jack and I were in a bid off, and he got me to he got me to back off with the Josh Jacobs pick. I would so much rather have Josh Jacobs at 25 than Rashad Penny at 21. Like, that's just so not comparable. I thought that was a really good pick. I felt like Dameon Pierce at 20 was a little high, but I actually really liked that range that Josh Jacobs and some of those other running backs went at. I obviously hate the Penny pick. You do too. I don't know, Curn. I got to talking to Hunter about this, and obviously you could just imagine the discourse we had. But let me ask you a question, and this is going to sound inflammatory, and it's not supposed to be. At any point when you were committing to the strategy of not really drafting an RB1 or a higher end running back, did you ever think maybe you're overthinking it? Or are we blind? Because obviously we had different keeper situations. Obviously the draft goes very quickly and players of different tiers pop up at different times. But I'm just curious, if you had to do it over again, would you have drafted one of the higher end running backs that went for 60 plus?
If I had done it over again, maybe I wouldn't have bought Rashad Penny for $21.
Sure, of course.
And maybe I sacrificed that $21 with a 20. I just like T. Higgins, AJ Brown a whole lot too, man. Like, so what would that give me? 21 plus.
It wouldn't get you much. You need to add a little more.
21 plus 29 is what? That's 50, right? So $50. I could have gotten who? I could have gotten Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
So. Well, that would give me 51. Like
right, in that area.
Would I rather have AJ Brown and T Higgins or Nick Chubb, right? Or Rashad Penny? Would I rather have Rashad Penny and AJ Brown or Nick Chubb? I'd rather have Rashad Penny and AJ Brown. I like Nick Chubb. I just don't he doesn't catch passes. They have Jacoby Brisket for the first few weeks. I heard y'all's recap of why he's going to be good next year. I get the idea that he has an easy schedule and he's a beast, but that only goes so far, and that's only so many points if you're not catching passes and on a really good offense.
Sure.
The Brisket's going to keep things going for, relatively enough. He's fine, but that's a high-end wide receiver, and I mean Rashad Penny, at least for week one, I don't know. I think he's going to do fine for me week one, maybe even week two.
I was just asking. I was just asking hypothetically if you could roll it back if you would have done that differently.
We had a draft in another league, the Pikes Peak draft, and granted that didn't have keepers, but the draft prices were completely different. These wide receivers went for a shit ton more. Jefferson went for 65. CeeDee Lamb went for mid 40s. AJ Brown went for mid 30s. Kyle Pitts went for mid 30s. I mean, Rashad Penny went for $3. I mean, the values were just completely
of course. Of course.
So no, when I was looking at my big board, I had my big board. You think I'm lying about it? But I had a giant big board on my fucking screen going down. I had my top 60 players, and then I had tiers. That's how I always draft. I go top 60, and I go tiers. And on my board, I was putting prices next to every player I was drafted, and I'm just no. Someone came up. It's oh, someone nominated fucking, I don't know, fucking Dalvin Cook, and he flies up above the price where I'm willing to pay for fucking broke ass Dalvin Cook right now. I'm not gonna fucking pay $63 for Dalvin Cook. You're not gonna make me do it. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. And so when
I will say this about Penny. He may get the whole season unless he gets injured. It's a lost season for the Seahawks. I mean, they may want to look at the end, but you're going to probably get 10 plus weeks out of Penny if he stays healthy.
That's fine.
Look, getting 10, 15, 20 carry. I mean, Penny will be okay.
Sure, yeah, look, and I'm not at all thrilled by it. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Mike Davis and Rashad Penny are going to take me to the promised land. It's just, when we're in this draft, I don't want to put so much of my money into Clyde Edwards-Helaire and fucking, God, I put in Rashad Penny, but Rashad Penny honestly was the best option out of all of them, I think, just because he was fucking, he's fine enough. I think he's better than Chase Edmonds. I don't know. Fuck Chase Edmonds. I like all these guys that could be good who I just don't fundamentally believe are good players. I think all my wide receivers are good players to where I'm just going to put my money into the pieces that I think will either hold value, gain value, or just remain marketable regardless. So, I mean, doing it over again, not rant any longer, I just don't think I would do it over again because
most of the guys in this range, like when I look at the ADP board, I mean, like, would I rather have Breece Hall, Zeke, and Cam Akers over AJ Brown and fucking AJ Brown and Higgins? No, I would rather have both of those guys over all those guys. Like I think those guys suck, and I would have had to lose value there to draft those guys if I wanted to fucking roster a starting running back.
Okay, but Kev. So all that taken. I'm not even gonna dispute or go with any of that. I'm just gonna loop around. Like, now you've made that decision. You're here. You're like, this is the draft. You get it. You're big board. You're in your tiers. How the fuck did you like roster Mike Davis? Like that is the
Davis,
part of it. That like. But I'm saying, like, you could have Nyheim Hines for 3, who like is going to be a season worth of, like, if you're going for that like robust wide receiver strategy, what you want is RBs who are going to get you 7 to 8 reception like targets a game, and you're like
100%.
And
you did it to snipe me.
You did it with J.D. McKissick. Like, you got the exact one who I would have been like, yeah, go get J.D. McKissick. Like, if you're doing this strategy, go get J.D. McKissick. Go get Nyheim Hines. If I was you, I would have, instead of the 21 on Penny, which I get the Penny thing, but I would have been the Kareem Hunt battle. I would have been in the, like, those are the dudes you want. You want the cheaper pass-catching dudes who are seconds on their team, because, like, yeah, all you now need to do to beat these other strategies is get the dudes who are going to get you 7 points a game and maybe hit you a touchdown, and then you're at 14.
Hunt went for 18.
Yeah, so I would
Hunt went
Nyheim Hines over.
I think Hunt went before Penny. I think, honestly, what happened with Penny was unfortunate. I saw the last tier of running backs. I should have just picked up more fucking bench shirts, but everyone bid him up because I had no running backs. ANF literally hit bid over and over and over again just to troll me. And I was I was more or less just like, fuck them. I'm just going to just buy them. And that's honestly, Hoot, that is the fault of being Kevin Curn in this auction draft regardless. They're all, as soon as they see I bid on anybody, so now I bid on everybody. Usually I'm throwing bids everywhere. I was fucking with them this draft. I put my little pen out and bidding. But they're literally, I got Hunter to buy. Who did I get Hunter to buy? I got Hunter to buy fucking like
somebody.
I don't know.
I don't remember who it was.
Maybe it was a $3 Khalil Herbert. Like, I got him to buy somebody just by just egging him on. Like, I got Jihad to buy fucking, I don't know, like.
There is a mental side of it that where you get egged on by the rest of the chat, and I will say, as the head egger, like if anyone smells that Curn could possibly be tilted, because for the longest time he didn't have Penny, so he's just sitting there with 0 running backs in his slots, and if anyone smells Curn blood in the water, it is like a fuck him up kind of mentality. So I will back up what Kurn's saying there, but which leads to tilting.
But to put a bow on Mike Davis, I wasn't planning on buying Mike Davis. I just looked at everyone available, and he was just in my queue as like I could plug him in for a week, maybe 2. This is when the J.K. Dobbins news was still kind of how fucked up is he? Is he fucked up? To give you some perspective, after this draft, I think I dropped. I put Brian Robertson and Jameson Williams in my IR, and I picked up Jerick McKinnon and Gus Edwards. So, like, I have more random, like, because I don't really believe in CEH. So I have both.
I love that you're trying to reassure me of your running back strategy by saying you got
Jerick McKinnon.
Look,
don't worry, it's not so bad.
Well, look, I got Giga Chad. I got this fucking weird Isaiah Pakako, who I don't really care about, but that's kind of where I ended up. So yeah, look, I feel good about Rashad Penny at least for the first few weeks. I don't think he's going to get banged up. I think Kenneth Walker's pretty fucked up from what I've read, and loved the J.D. McKissick pick. I think as gross as he is, you just don't find a lot of teams Hoot with Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, and Kyle Pitts they're just constantly going to be in my starting lineup. Like, while everyone makes these foul, mediocre flex decisions, I feel like I get some edge. Now, there's some teams that are really fucking good. ANF had a great draft. I mean, he had a great keeper situation. He capitalized very well. I took a turn based on what I saw. So, any further questions?
We We can't keep telling ANF he's done something well as long as he continues to roster Damian Harris. We have to.
$3, Hoot. Hoot, you should have seen it. We were all on video cam. My eyes lit up like a 5-year-old that got an N64 for Christmas. I was so glad.
I don't know. That was a good value for Damian Harris. I still think he kind of sucks, but
$3.
It is fantastic value. I'm just trying to go through on.
My eyes were the size of bowling balls when they let me have them. I was so pleased. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, well, that's the draft right there. The RB1 for an elite offense, of course. Let's move on to Ghali's team. He's obviously not here to soapbox. Let me say that I come out of every draft immediately after the draft thinking, man, I really didn't just love Ghali's draft. And then, within like a few days, I'm like, I fucking love Ghali's team. And I'm always a Ghali's fan. Maybe because I've never been in his division and he hasn't whooped my ass twice a year. But I love Ghali's team. And I understand I'm about to hear the...
Who is Ghali for those of us?
Jihad 93. I'm just going right to left.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, so Joe Burrow at the top. It is Bengal heavy, so obviously that is, Ghali, if you're listening, that is going to be something that if the Bengals get fucked up like the Rams did last night some weeks, it could be difficult for you. But I really like his team. Obviously, I don't think Juju's a very exceptional wide receiver 3. And I know he's not playing this week, but I think Lazard's going to be an awesome wide receiver 3. Ghali himself has said that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is his least favorite pick of the entire draft for $32, so that's not a stellar pick. But
and he's got Devin Singletary.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. So I loved what I saw from Devin Singletary last night. No offense, Monstar. I think James Cook could be an excellent keeper for next year, but I think he could be irrelevant after what we saw last night. They came out with their first drive of the season, which is almost always scripted, and we saw 4 Singletary plays in a row. I obviously, I don't think Singletary does what he did at the end of last year, and being the RB5 or whatever the fuck it was over the last 6 weeks. But I think that's going to be a solid pick for you, Ghali, which in honesty is going to be a much more useful asset to your team than Clyde, just in my estimation. I think you're going to have a really good year, Ghali. Obviously, there's a lot of ways it could go wrong with the Cincinnati focus, but I just think that is so... on weeks where Ghali pops, he's going to apex. So that's where I am with Ghali's team.
Am I right that he kept Jamar and Mike Williams?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I with that keeper, that's an awesome keeper stack. With that keeper set, I absolutely love his running back, like his strategy of just hammering running backs.
He always does.
Yeah.
I think with that keeper set, you're in a great position to just go. I mean, the exact kind of opposite of what Kevin said. Like you're in the exact position to say fuck it and bid $60 for Joe Mixon because you're like, no, I want a steady RB1. David Montgomery at 27. Even with how crazy some of these values are, I think that's a great value. Mm-hmm. Like I can't believe you got him $5 cheaper than Clyde. Yeah. And then I'm a big fan of Melvin Gordon. I think he's going to have value all year. I don't think they're going to I think that's the fantasy community is a year early on that split. And then to get the receivers he got for cheap at the end of all, maybe it's just because I agree with those, but I think they're all good dart throws. I think Devontae Parker's a good dart throw.
I completely agree. Yes.
This is a great team.
Yeah. Y'all have any thoughts on Ghali's squad? Any naysayings since we've given it lots of props, just to mellow it out, maybe give him some advice?
Honestly, I think the Juju pick is a great decision. Honestly, I think he's going to be much more valued than what people have seen so far this year. Running back squads looks great, and Jamar Chase, honestly, is going to be top 4 or 5, I think, by the end of the year. So, seems a good spot.
Yeah. We'll see about the Juju Monstar. I started this offseason being such a Juju believer. Curn can tell you. I'm really nervous about it now, especially just with how little he got to actually do in camp and in preseason. So I am nervous, but I still hope, I don't know if it's but I hope Juju still has some juice left and can be super awesome for a Patrick Mahomes offense, but we'll see. If it is, the Ghali team is even better. But I'm nervous about that pick. But at the same time, once Lazard is playing, I think that could be super awesome for his team. And he's got Devontae Parker again on an elite Patriots offense. So, Curn, anything?
No, I mean, yeah, this is a very. I mean, he drafted a lot of the players he had last year. He
Yep.
immediately went after.
Yes.
immediately went after Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. He's had Joe Mixon, I think, no joke, last 5 seasons. He's monopolized him.
I think so too.
It's a good running back. I fucking love Joe Mixon. Big Joe Mixon believer. Love Jamar Chase. I can sing his praises all day. I do think unless he's just Tyreek Hill, there's bound to be some regression, but $10 for Jamar Chase doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Does not matter at all. I think Juju sucks ass. I think he's a bum, but I mean, whatever. You have him, it's a dart throw, $16. I think you'll get more value out of Devontae Parker and Alan Lazard than Juju because he's a fucking bum. Very solidly value TJ Hawkinson. Clyde sucks, but I agree with Briart's sentiment on Melvin Gordon. I do think that Javonte Williams is still that dude and just bad as shit. I think he's still going to be awesome, but I think that there'll still be some room for Melvin Gordon to get a little nooks and crannies.
On a good offense.
Yeah. Very, very successful Jihad draft. Can't complain.
I do think when we get to the next team, and for all teams, who should have to guess who the keepers are? Or who the keepers were.
Okay. Well, he did it successfully with Ghali, so I guess we could. Oh, this one's Lippy. That's not nice. So anyway, I guess we can play Lippy's game and guess who the keepers were for this team.
I'm hoping Cortland Sutton for 8 is one. Otherwise,
that's correct. Yes.
The other one, I'm not. Did he keep Hunter Henry for $1? I don't know.
He kept Russell Wilson for 11, and Lippy hates it.
It's awful.
I feel like
for the value of these other, I wouldn't hate it in a normal one of these leagues. Looking at the value that other quarterbacks win for, that's just.
Yeah. I like it for the stack with his other keeper. I do understand Lippy and Kern's concerns about it not being a very pretty keeper, but he is, I guess, paying a premium for the stack, which, Dustin, I am behind. I think I might be alone other than just with you. So, Dustin, on the post-draft recap we did of just people giving initial thoughts right after we've been drafting for 2 hours, and everyone had a really busy head. Dude, I really did not like some of your picks. So I'm big on Chase Edmonds, but I thought $24 was expensive. I thought Mike Evans was crazy, and I love Mike Evans, but that's a very expensive Mike.
It's a very nice premium Mike Evans.
But at the
Aaron Jones value is really nice. The
Aaron Jones pick is excellent. The Zeke pick is excellent. The
that was the number one thing I feel like is to get Aaron Jones and Zeke both for the cost of Austin Eckler is just awesome.
Yeah,
that's real nice.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what I was going to say. Dustin, dude, I don't know if we'll upload that draft footage, but I came out of that just like, man, I really don't like some of Dustin's picks. But, dude, your team's pretty sick. Some of these picks are awesome, and your team as a whole has a lot of ability just to pop the fuck off. Obviously, tight end, who gives a fuck? I'm right there with you. And I love Kareem for 18. I was me, Curn, and Dustin, I think, were the people bidding on him a little bit. I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to do it. Fuck that. But in the aftermath, maybe I should have stuck with it.
Dustin had a great draft.
He did have a good draft. Maybe a little shaky wide receiver depth, buddy, but you just text me. Don't text Curn because he's going to overcharge you. Obviously, I'll give you the best prices. That's true for everyone in the league. If you're listening, always shop with ANF. Yeah, I don't know. So I didn't like some of the dollar amounts, but then at the same time, when I was saying that, I'm like, well, you could spend whatever you want. You got Aaron Jones for $38. You got Zeke for $36. Who gives a fuck? You can pay whatever you want to, Dustin. Make it rain. So I really like your team, and honestly, I mean, this team's going to be a problem. I obviously bye weeks, if wide receiver depth stays shaky, but But I mean, it doesn't look like bye weeks will fuck him too bad. Week 9 will be a little tough, but
Dustin's got a nice team.
yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
I may say the barometer for a playoff team.
I mean, I can't say that. I feel like TMO wouldn't even want us to say that. Last year, we dubbed TMO's team, we'll get to him in a little bit, as the litmus test for what a good team was. And he just had like the worst fantasy luck maybe ever. Just got brutally so. And we would always say, oh, well, I mean, he's the litmus test. His team will bounce back. And unfortunately, just worse things continue to happen. So I'm not going to name anyone a litmus test. But hypothetically, if I were to, I would hypothetically think about making it Dustin's. So...
hypothetically.
Hypothetically, but a non-hypothetical, very good draft, sir. But yeah. Any other thoughts on Dustin's team? Yeah,
It's nice running back value for the league that overpays on running backs. He somehow didn't overpay for anyone. Yeah. I guess Edmonds, but
yeah, I mean Edmonds was expensive, but he was able to do that.
I think Zeke is fucking washed. I don't know. He looks
so cap. That's just such a bad take.
It just even Kev, even if he is, they're still gonna force feed him the carries. Who gives a shit? Like, who cares if he gives you your points on 3.8 or 4.2 yards per carry? Like, who gives a shit? He's gonna get them.
Yes, and I don't think he's even lost it. So.
At
the end of the day, he was only $17 more than Rashad Penny. So,
I just would rather not pay that. I don't know. I don't know. I've been fading Zeke this year. It's just my personal opinion, but yeah, hater. love the Aaron Jones pick. Love the Kareem Hunt pick. I think Chase Edmonds is going to be in a full blown committee, but I think that's fine because now you have one. I love that Denver stack. A very pricey Mike Evans, and Mike Evans is that dude. Darnell Mooney sucks, but I mean, you pass him too.
Hey.
You drafted George Aston, who has a lot of upside too, so he's going to come out really hot later down the line.
That is a high variance pick, and by variance, the variable is if he plays football. So, we'll see. Okay, so now we're going to get to maybe what I've been looking forward to the most, Hunter's team. And for those of us at home, that is the team with Dak Prescott as quarterback and Austin Eckler and CMC as running backs. So I don't think, Lippy, we need to play the keeper guess game here. It was because Hoot did a draft. We have already talked about how he kept Eckler and he kept Marquise Brown for $2. When you look at the studs of Hunter's team, they are really good. Especially, and I think it deserves props, we were all very impressed, even mid-draft, with a $34 Kcole. Even I, a Kcole hater, who thinks he will not be exceptional this year, still thinks that for $34, who realistically will be the tight end one is an awesome pick, especially when, it's a good pick. That being said, we do have a few problems with this team. And Hunter knows about these. They are the wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 slot. Oh.
And his flex.
It is flex. His flex is a little tough too.
No, this team is Bizarro Kevin's team. And it's really interesting to have them both here. Because it's truly the Bizarro version of Kevin's team. And honestly, I didn't think I was going to find it, like, again, not trying to like hammer on Kevin or anything like that, but like, I thought that was going to be one of my least favorite drafts. This might be it for me, not from a, like, again, get why this happened. There's great players here, but I don't know how you can go into this season, like, expect to survive when you're realistically might be starting KJ Osborne every week.
Yeah. So the way this draft started for Hunter was, I believe he kept Marquise Brown, he kept Eckler. CMC was nominated maybe third. He bid on
pretty quickly.
Him. He then bid on Kcole very quickly. And at $34 was a good pick, but I think that left his max bid at like $10. And he had 4 players, right? and he had to spend the rest of the draft. I think the next player he got was Nyheim Hines at 3, and then he got Dak at 6, and the rest were just dollar bids.
So the problem with this team, Alexander, is that he will not trade unless he feels like he is raping the person on the other side.
That's the biggest problem I have.
And if he was someone who was more fluid and comfortable being on the edge of a trade, he could make this team great. But he just will not trade unless he feels like he wins the trade. And that's not going to work in this situation.
So I guess let's.
Kelsey,
I think
Kelsey, but if you're going to break down Eckler and CMC, it's like you're going to want a haul for that. So it's like, I mean, you never want to say like, oh, well, what if injuries? But like, it's a giant lay your whole season on just for two really good players. I like Marquise Brown fine, he's great, but like in Kelsey, it's just I don't know, man. It's you have a lot of other starting positions. You need these guys to absolutely smash weekly. And as someone who had D Swift and JT last year, who smashed pretty regularly, there were matchups I lost because I was starting, fucking. I think I drafted Robert Woods last year, who sucked, and I had Tyler Lockett, who was shitty, like a lot of the year. And
so
I don't know, it sucks.
I think we all kind of identify the common flaws and strengths because there are real strengths to this team. I guess I'm curious because I've talked with Hunter a lot since we've drafted and even before, and I know he'll listen to this because he truly does want to know. What do you think? Like a season prognosis could be. Do you think this will be a team that, as is, can be successful? Do you think it is a team that will have close wins, blowout wins, get destroyed? Like, are you like? What would if you were Hunter right now? What would you be thinking? I guess what would your temperature gauge be on what you're to expect from your season?
You have a 77.
Christian Watson has to be that dude. Like Christian Watson has to be that dude.
But nonetheless, he'll win 7 games. He'll win 6, 7, 8 games, maybe, depending on how the weeks turn out. I mean, he has guys who can win them weeks, but at the same time, he has guys who can throw up 3 points in 3 positions total.
So I just think I don't know. I feel like you gotta look at it like can this team be a playoff team? Yes, but like Christian Watson has to be that dude, and he's got to hit on another wide receiver somewhere. Like I don't know if Kenny Galladay rises from the earth.
Nico Collins got to be that dude.
Nico Collins, yeah, like it's just he needs to hit one on the waiver wire because if you're saying he doesn't trade,
he's not going to hit a waiver wire. He doesn't have
another
enough
flex. There's another flex that he starts too. It's 3 wide receivers, a flex, and 2 running backs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna. Well, the flex is gonna be Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, I think it is too.
And then you have to keep in mind, there's about 3 teams that have more fab than the rest of everybody else. So there's going to be only 3 guys that. Yeah,
he should trade Nyheim Hines to Kevin for one of Kevin's receivers, not the good ones, but like whenever if Wandell or Jameson hits, like that's the trade right there.
He won't do it.
There's no way he does it.
He wouldn't do it ever.
Actually, I'm trying to think if I've seen Hunter trade since I joined Apex in 2018.
Well, Hunter doesn't trade. Well, first off, he doesn't trade with Lippy and I just on principle. He thinks that we always rip him off. So he doesn't trade with either of us just on principle. He even announces, like, they listen to more things. I'm not going to trade those assholes. Fucking Kern's always greasy and fuck Lippy. So then he'll go trade with, like, he doesn't really do a lot of trades. He just,
I was going to say,
holds his little
I don't know if I've seen Hunter ever do a trade. Like, am I forgetting one? I don't know if I've ever seen him do a trade.
Christian Watson is not going to be that dude. KJ Osborne could be that dude.
I don't think Christian Watson's that dude.
Kelsey has to be. Kelsey has to keep doing what he's doing.
Christian Watson isn't good.
Yeah, I would. I just don't
see Dak Prescott, Eckler, and CMC and Kelsey really drop like 20 to 30 points a week. And if you get that, what do you get? You get let's go ceiling. You get 30, 60, 90 from CMC, Kelsey, and Eckler weekly. Then you get what? Like you need Dak to score like 25.
So then you're like, like in like the 110s, and then and then
those are
you basically
good
need one of these
weeks
wide
from those
receivers to go off.
players. Those are good weeks from those players. That
That's
you have
ceiling
to have,
weeks.
You have to
You might have like a 50-point CMC week, but I mean, like 30 points each is a pretty good average. I mean, I would think.
And
then
I'm nervous about CMC. That's why I went on Henry. I decided from the get-go, like, first of all, I thought JT would go for more, but I crossed him off, and then he kept Eckler. So I'm like, all right, do I want to go in on CMC or Henry? And obviously, Henry has been dealing with an injury too, and we haven't seen him be a fucking baller since his injury. But I'm just more nervous about McCaffrey for whatever reason. There's not a lot of actual anything put into that other than ANF fear, but I'm nervous that he won't get those 50-point games, and I'm also nervous that, I'm going to be very interested to see how the season starts for him. I'm interested to see how he works with Baker. I think he can totally be super successful with Baker, but I'm just interested to see what happens. So I'm nervous for you, Hunter. I do think a trade, and him and I talked a trade earlier this week. We were talking about me trading for Kelsey, and it was just, I'm like, dude, I can't do that much for him. But
the other problem is the projections. The projections are smiling fondly on Hunter this week, so he's like a top 3 projected finish this week. Mm-hmm. He's going to see that and not want to change the projections to make his team look worse on paper in sleeper's eyes.
That is, I think, probably true. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
He's such an asshole.
Like he has some great pieces here.
I see what you're saying. Like it's like I don't know how you described it. Like the weird version of Curn's team. I get it, but like at the end of the day, take really shitty 5-6 point running back weeks if I can hit consistently on 5 different positions. You're banking on so much.
But he has some players that will go bananas.
He'll win games. He'll win games, but he needs the end of the year. That's my problem with paying base running backs. You need it if you do it like this. You need the end of year rankings points per game to be CMC 101 and Austin Eckler at least between like 101 and 105 for him to float. And you need one of these running backs to fucking do well.
All right.
And just play on the waiver, I guess, dude. Like injuries happen. Maybe he hits on maybe Monty goes down, he gets Khalil Herbert for the year. Like things happen. You don't know. I mean, shit. Like maybe he does do well. Things happen.
Okay, so we will.
Your turn, Hunter. We'll move on.
No, I think that was a good discussion for a team that had a really interesting draft. We'll move on now to Jonah, who is
another interesting draft.
Corn Man with Mahomes on top.
So is this a keeper guess? Mahomes and Connor?
No. Ooh. He did keep Connor, but he did
Look at tight end, sir. Tight end.
He kept Mark Andrews for 12, so he got Mahomes for 18.
Okay.
So I'm interested because I have such interesting thoughts on this team. I'm going to let someone else take the helm and start us off here. Anyone just go ahead and jump in.
I mean,
I just don't like James Conner, and then flex, and then I don't love his receivers besides Bateman, but Bateman's still a question mark. It's a lot of question marks.
Who is his flex? Thielen?
Yeah.
Or you could argue Mike Thomas is the flex and Thielen's the wide receiver 3.
Thielen's a fine flex. Like I think Thielen's actually a really good value. Maybe I'm just all in on the Minnesota passing game, but I don't know. Maybe that's off base. He might be washed. He might be washed too.
Actually, I changed my mind. Kirk Cousins is fucking elite. That's a very good point. Adam Thielen's probably a wide receiver 1.
Kirk Cousins was a good quarterback pick. And good job to you. But I mean, like he's buying in heavy to the Baltimore passing game. I think that there's value on Rashad Bateman. Expensive Rashad Bateman to bank on that, in my opinion.
I love Bateman this year. I just wish he was $10 cheaper. JT's
Jalen Waddle at more than Terry McLaurin is kind of rough.
So that's that's what I wanted to kind of. I mean, so first of all, Jonah, I can totally see this team being really successful. First of all, you have Pat Mahomes, who is playing in the most talent-dense division probably in the history of football. He is going to score a shit ton of points, even though I think the Chiefs lose the division. Fuck Kansas City, they're going to be done. But Mahomes is, and for $18, that's great. Like that's a great pick. I was in there with you, Jonah, and I pulled out, and you kept. You got to win the Mahomes prize. So I love that pick. Obviously, I think JT is going to ball, but with Monstar in the call, I think Monstar, you did such a smart ass thing, man, of letting Waddle hit the market. You got Tyreek Hill for $10 more than Jalen Waddle. I mean, I'm super down on Tua, and I'm going to be very interested in how Tyreek finishes up. But $31 for Tyreek Hill versus Jalen Waddle for 21. No offense, Jonah. I would feel bad to be on that side of that wide receiver pricing range. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with Lamar now. Obviously, he's going to play, but that's not a happy camp. Not to mention the whole running back core is dead. There's just so much that has me so nervous about your team. I have no idea what the fuck's going on with Michael Thomas. Like, is he playing this week? Is he a game time decision? If I'm right, he hasn't caught a touchdown since I don't know the iPhone 4 came out.
Since who drafted him 6th overall? Yes.
That is
very
true, but I'm also still on MT. I think the MT value is fine. I think the Bateman value is okay. It's just I don't know. I actually do like this team a good deal.
It can do work.
Yeah, I can see it. I just I don't want to come down harsh on this one. I actually like this team, but I do that's probably the best way. Like individually, each of these receivers I get, looking at them all together is probably what the thing is. It's like all together.
That's well said. That's I haven't been able to put my finger on it. I think that's a nice point. As far as team makeup, it just makes me feel squirmy, Jonah. And I'm not trying to be a hater, but it just like there's a lot of question marks. And you know what? If they turn into periods or exclamation marks, then I'll look like a dummy. But I like those. That situation just gives me anxiety.
I love MBS. It's
the MBS for $1.
Not getting Juju for 16 and just instead saying I'll take the one who's like I know you pay more wide receivers to stretch the field, but they paid him more and Juju couldn't find a fucking job for 2 years. Fuck that guy. MVS is a nice snag, Jonah. Good fucking sneak in there. Get the snag.
That's
I don't know why
that's true.
No one knows why you have Justin Fields on your roster, but that's fine. Love the Tony pick for $3, kind of, maybe. I mean, not I said out loud.
No.
I don't like that too much. You got Jamal. You paid a premium. Just make sure you had Jamal. So you have Jamal. Jamal is your RB3 should things go down. I think James Conner just has to regress. And I also think just fundamentally he sucks at playing football. I think he just happened to fall in the end zone a lot. I just don't believe in it.
James Conner's touchdowns are definitely going to regress. He's going to get more. Like, he is the clear RB. Like, not even RB1. He's the only RB on that roster.
Whoa. What about Eno Benjamin? All right.
What about Darrell Williams, who's just going to be a nuisance? Darrell Williams is actually a very fine running back. I know you're going to laugh at that, but he does everything right. He pass protects. He pass catches. He's clean. Conner sucks. He just falls in the end zone. He's just not. He doesn't run with purpose.
Conner. Okay, good. If you want to talk about pass protection, then I'm gonna come back at you because James Conner is an excellent pass protector. That's what he's gonna do on third downs. He's not gonna get a ton of targets, but he's gonna be on the field. Like, he is gonna be the running back on the field 70% of the times for a good offense. Like, at $15 with the prices of these fucking running backs.
It's a fine keeper. But I mean, like, that's his last line of defense at RB. I mean, with the team he has, I mean, like, like if things go south, he's, Rashad Bateman's got to be that dude, and Mark Andrews got to be that dude again. I mean, Jamal's not going to be that dude out the gates. I mean, No, if James Conner doesn't deliver, if James Conner does not do what he did last year, look at his team. Like, it's Mahomes, JT, and he's banking on some of these, like, prime #sleeper fantasy wide receivers. Mark Andrews is great. I fucking love Mark Andrews. He's going to give him a solid separation at the time position, and that goes so far.
Yeah, but starting Andrews and Bateman is tough.
It is. And he knows it too.
It's a lot, but all I'm saying is just if James Conner comes back and does what he does, then I love the setup because then he's a smash at quarterback, smash at running back,
Look.
smash at tight end, and then he has better running backs. Or no, then he has better wide receivers than Hunter. So I think he
Yeah.
pulls that better than Hunter. You know?
Hold on.
Yeah.
So this is my comment for the league here, and this might be this is probably harder to do in auction, but maybe not, or just the league falls how it falls. But if this is my take, if Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman are gonna do what he needs them to do, he would have been better getting Lamar Jackson for 14 than Patrick Mahomes using those $4 on another running back or something else. Because if you're going for that Baltimore stack like that, fucking do it.
Just go in.
Correct.
Yeah. Agreed. I would have loved that. I would love to stack. Like, I love stacking. I paid a premium to stack A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. I mean, not really a premium, but, like, at the time I thought it was a premium. I mean, but, like, you know, fucking stacking so prime. Ugh, stacks. He's going to stack MVS and Mahomes in week 5 and be – then we're all going to look like fucking clams.
I do think the MVS
ANF,
pick.
He's going to start the ANF of wide receivers, the MVS, and it's going to be clutch.
I really do, Jonah. I've given you lots of naysays, but I think the MVS pick could turn out to be one of my favorites from your team. I was such a hater. I told Curn, Marquez about this kid, he's fucking terrible, but it looks like he could be really good in Kansas City. So for $1, that was nice. I hope I didn't shit on Jonah too much because I do like a lot of the players. I don't have the stomach for it, Jonah. You're a stronger man than me. But let's move on now to someone who has, shall we say, acres of problems at the running back position. We'll move on to Kcole's team, who had a tough Thursday night. But at the same time, Gabriel Davis, he was a monster, and that pick looks super good now. Even though $19 I thought at the time was crazy expensive for him, but he looks like he's going to be hyper involved with the offense. So that pick looks great. I guess real quick, what do y'all think about the Akers situation? If y'all are Kcole, what's going through your head? What are you trying to do? 3 carries for 0 yards.
You are benching Akers.
Pollard and Samuel.
Look, all I'm saying is you can't sell him right now, but hope to God he gets better down the line and then move him from there.
Yeah, no, I think that's right, Monstar. I don't think you can sell him now.
He looked putrid.
Yeah.
Henderson looked good. Whoever drafted Henderson's probably pretty smart.
Lippy, I tend to agree with you. But
Henderson looked very spry.
Henderson was that dude.
9.8 points in that blowout. Whew. Oh goodness. Damian Harris better put in work this week, or he might be benched. But that's we'll talk about that later. Right now, we're talking about what does Kcole do with Akers.
I love how he committed to the San Francisco Debo hype. He's like, you know what? Debo catches hate.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep him for a fucking discount, and I'm gonna lean into the uncertainty and take Trey Lance. I mean, that's just a wonderful upside swing to the fences.
Yeah. So this is an interesting situation that happened with this team, Hoot. Unfortunately, the sleeper way you could view players was a little scuffed, and he thought that he was going to be able to keep Kyler for $7, and then like 4 hours before the draft, we double-checked it, and Curn said, wait a second, you can't keep Kyler, so he had to keep Tony Pollard for $2, and pivoted, did not go after Kyler in the draft, but instead got Trey Lance for $3, which I think was a great pivot by Kcole. It deserves praise. I think that was really solid.
That was clean.
No,
because for all you're going to say about Debo, if you're going to think he's going to be ineffective or like inefficient, like regress, I mean, like
I can't hate on Debo for that price.
No, not at all. And even more, if you want to double down, just be like, fuck it, I'm going to take Trey Lance too and just buy into that offense. Like, if it hits, then like he's in a really good spot.
Yeah. Hoot, I think I cut you off there.
No, I was just going to ask. Yeah, so that's what I was asking. So the keepers were Debo and Tony Pollard.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And things were going well. He went after and got Dalvin Cook, which I think was pricey, but he got him, and that was fine. Running back heavy. Got Terry McLaurin for $20. I mean, say what you want about Terry McLaurin. He's really good at playing wide receiver. and got Gabe Davis for the upside, got Trey Lance, and then things just took a twist, and we got the Cam Akers
before
bid.
we get into the bad, as a perennial Justin Fields believer, I really like the Cole Kmet for $3. And maybe my Friday is showing off my 1 point from Dawson Knox. Some would say I'd prefer to have him. I actually don't think that's true, but I certainly do right now since I only got 1 point from Knox. But I still think Kmet will be a good tight end this year. Tough picks. Obviously, Akers at 40. I really don't know how much more we need to go into that other than that's really unfortunate. And then, what do y'all think about Gibson for 17? Ron Rivera came out and said that they're going to give him the ball a ton. Curn, I like your Brian Robinson pick as much as everyone was clouding it in the draft room with him getting shot in the legs. I actually think Brian Robinson is still going to be awesome, or maybe that's just me hoping. Once he does come back,
it's tough to come back from getting shot. It's tough to come back from getting shot in the legs, I feel like. But I mean, for $2, he goes my IR. Whatever.
So my thought is more on what does this mean for Antonio Gibson? Because I don't know if any player in the offseason had a worse PR situation than Antonio Gibson. I can't think of a single player who got.
I don't know what you think. I don't know what you thought about it, Hood. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. But like, I took it as I just can't believe that Brian Robinson could be that good. I mean, he looked fine, but like the fact that they were like trying to bring back JJ McKissick so bad, like they got Brian Robinson early, and then they like featured him and they put this motherfucker on kick returns. Like, I just still feel like, and that's kind of why I'm glad I got JD McKissick because, and I leaned into it and said, "Fuck it, let me get the whole backfield." Because my idea was thinking, I'm gonna lean into the idea that I'm not going to trust Antonio Gibson at all this year. Just that everything was pointing to him not being that guy. I think he's probably the best running back in the backfield right now, and he might win some hearts over and do a really good job out the gates. But like, I think fundamentally he still has a lot of issues, and I think JD is going to be a lot more involved than we think. And it's a fine value at $17 to be honest. I mean, he'll be serviceable for a couple weeks at least. I really have no qualms with it. It's just I don't know long term. He'd be an immediate sell. Like if he comes out and he gets 15 carries and 5 receptions and scores a touchdown, I'd be selling him yesterday, immediately.
So this is my take on Antonio Gibson. I truly, truly believe that in 3 to 5 years we'll be watching a 30 for 30 about how he had Brian Robinson shot. Like I don't think there's any chance. Who gets shot in the leg in a carjacking? Barely missing the knee.
Is it the Tanya Harding scandal?
Yeah.
Not just that he got shot, but it missed all the bones. Like that's incredible. Like how the fuck do you shoot someone and miss everything that's important? For fuck's sake.
Yeah, I truly believe. But anyway, no. For real talk. I don't hate this with the value and the cost of the running backs that are going in this league. Like, I do think it's interesting where the value fell in this league as I look around at these running backs. Like, the ones I really like ended up being the dead zone running back, which is so interesting that the way that y'all valued running backs is so high that it pushed the high running backs out of their market value. And then the sleepers, everyone was on, so they went for you didn't really get sleepers, but it's like that dead zone of shit running backs that normally you wouldn't want that actually just went for their reasonable prices. Like Miles Sanders at 11 is fucking clutch. Josh Jacobs at 25 I think is good. Dameon Pierce at 20 is good. Antonio Gibson at 17 is good. I thought David Montgomery at 27 was good. Even for all the shit we gave him, like Rashad Penny at 21 is good. A.J. Dillon at 11 is awesome. Like, that's where the value was. Melvin Gordon at 12. Devin Singletary at 9. Like, which is, again, an interesting dynamic from the way. Yeah, exactly. Damien Harris 3. But it's interesting. Ramondre Stevenson at 7. Like, it's interesting that the way that y'all's draft fell, that's where that ended up being the way to allocate running back resources in my mind.
Yeah.
So I do actually think that's not bad. maybe it's mostly because I'm staring at it right next to Cam Akers at 40, which is just doing all of the things that are wrong with what you want here. But, like, I think if you told me you had Dalvin Cook's handcuff, this set of wide receivers, including a couple of good rookies who might pop, Tyler Boyd, who I love Tyler Boyd as, like, a receiver, a bench receiver who is one injury away from being a top 15 receiver, 17 receiver.
And we know he can have game-winning weeks, don't we, Curn?
Yeah, Tyler Boyd beat me like 4 years ago. ANF loves it. Yeah, half a decade ago, he was great.
So I do like this team in a lot of ways. It's just, the Cam Akers that's just tough, and I mean, that it is what it is. Like, fantasy football's hard. I'm an owner of Robinson and Stafford in leagues. Like, it hurts. Like, it just sometimes it hurts, and who knows? Maybe next week he's getting 17 carries. I mean, who fucking knows? But him running away from the defensive lineman and not picking up his pass pro as Stafford gets fucking smashed is just such a bad look. It's just
he looked
really is bad.
So bad.
Like, he shuffles over, sees him, and then just like turns away and scurries. And it's just like, oh, dude, it's as bad as you could ever. It's like that's how you just don't get played. That's just how you get. Yeah. That's in the running back room today, and they're just like, fuck no, like absolutely not.
Yeah.
So that's tough.
Kcole,
but I do
Henderson is available for trade.
I do think this team is like if the San Francisco stack hits,
lots of boom.
Yeah, this team can make noise in the playoffs. I think Drake London and Sky Moore and Tyler Boyd are awesome. Like back all of these, I like all of these receivers. This is a group of receivers that I love.
These are King Hoot receivers. King Hoot loves.
Yeah, I love this whole. I love this whole group of receivers, all in.
And so that's kind of what Lippy and I were talking about. He's having internet issues right now, so he can't chime in. But I feel like this year, and obviously I think everyone has individual teams that they're not a big fan of. I think a lot of people, for instance, no offense, Hunter, would point to Hunter and say, that team did not turn out too super good. But I think everyone has a very serviceable team this year. I think this might be, as a whole, Apex's best draft, because you could even have, no offense, Kcole, a $40 acres hole in your pocket, and this team can still do so much damage. It really can. Obviously, I think he's going to, depending on what he does, he may or may not start Cam Akers next week. I have no idea what he's going to do, but depending on what happens with that situation, even if you remove Cam Akers from this team, I think there's still a lot of damage that can be done with this squad, Kcole. So obviously, you're probably not feeling great about the Akers pick, but you're probably feeling pretty dang good about the Gabriel Davis pick and about your other receiver options right now. So, anything else for this team, or should we move on to Mevo Brisket? All right,
that's all I got.
Yeah, I love that he got Alexander Madison for 3. Like, I think that's such a key piece of the Dalvin Cook pickup. Mm-hmm. I think if you had 63 on Dalvin Cook, if you're spending that type of money that these star running backs cost and you don't get their handcuff, I don't get it, because you've banked on that offense.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I think that's a great pick.
Unfortunately, I couldn't get Damian Harris's backup. Ramondre Stevenson was kept, so I couldn't get my handcuff. But moving over to Jack's team, with Josh Allen at the top, Mevo Brisket, we had Javonte and Liddy kept for $32 and $9 respectively. He went out and got Josh Allen, but I think most expensive quarterback in the draft, obviously last night, looks like a great fucking pick. Devontae Adams for $37, and it's worth pointing out too, we are in a 6-point passing touchdown league. The Josh Allen pick, I think, is going to age very well. Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Lockett, Dalton Schultz, Dameon Pierce, Josh Jacobs, Greg Wilson. You can see it on the screen. What are y'all's thoughts on how Bevo did?
So, keepers, Fournette and
Javonte.
Okay, nice. Love his drafted running backs at this value again. Same thing as before. Same thing as with the Aaron Jones, Elliott to like a lesser degree, but Dameon Pierce, Josh Jacobs for 45 total. for what some of these dudes are going for, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's just absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I was right there with them on both of those players. I was a little sad, but
love the Pierce pick.
Like, I don't, again, not to double down again, but if you even coming out of the draft and being like the second the draft's over, you look at your roster and you go, I could have Dameon Pierce and Josh Jacobs for $5 more than Cam Akers. Like, again, it's not to hammer the Cam Akers thing, but it's just like that's awesome. That's you'll take that every day.
Yeah.
That is part of it, though, is when you look at the draft there, like, it's such a mystery because, like, it does kind of go down the draft board of, like, oh, this guy went for 20, so obviously this guy's going to go for some certain price, but the price can just shoot right back up, and guys who are 4 tiers below you might just go for 3 times the price. Honestly, because maybe hunters are drunk. Like, it's crazy how the value slides there. So, do love the Dameon Pierce pick. I think it's a really shitty offense. I got him in one other league. I mean, it's a fine price for $20. I mean, maybe I'm just not a Josh Jacobs stan. I believe in the offense. I know they got Devontae Adams. That's fine. I don't know. It remains to be seen. I just
noticed he's got Adams and Jacobs, which is interesting.
Yeah, he leaned into that. I mean, it's a pretty. I mean, Devontae Adams is that dude. He's a really good wide receiver. He's like so fucking sound at running routes.
And they're on the ANF Super Bowl winning favorite pick of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, Josh Allen's going to just separate him so much at the quarterback matchups. Like, when you score 40-point weeks, I mean, he's going to have a nice
37-5 last night.
If Javonte and Lenny come back and deliver those high-end RB performances, he'll be good. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really too. If I was going to pay a premium at wide receiver, I would just lean away from the uncertainty of Devontae Adams and go somewhere else. But I mean, I see what he was doing there, and I mean, Jerry Jeudy versus Courtland Sutton. I used to be fully on the Jerry Jeudy train versus Courtland Sutton, and honestly, that's one take I think I've gone back on. Is after looking into it and reading into it, I think I'm fully on the train that Courtland Sutton's going to be that dude. And
there he is.
Welcome aboard, Curn. Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the train, baby.
Maybe Jerry Jeudy just sucks because I was looking at a lot of it and looking like practice and like reports out and like, dude, like it's. I'm just going to lean into the truth. Like, look, as I say every now and then, ANF, facts change, and you know what, facts have changed, and I think that the Jerry Jeudy pick's not great, and I don't know why you would pay any more than $1 for Tyler Lockett. That's a tough wide receiver 3 to have, but I guess you can plug in Julio and Romeo Dobbs if they hit.
I think that's the ugliest pick, but that's only because it was his 3rd receiver pick, so it put him in the wide receiver 3 slot. I don't know if that ends up being his wide receiver 3, is what I'll say.
Yeah, between that, Wilson, Julio, and Dobbs, that's still not perfect. But I mean, no, he gets to start 3 running backs every week, so he's fixed his flex, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. So yeah, his flex can be a random fucking dart throw. So overall, I mean, you know, I love the Dalton Schultz pick. I don't know. What do you think, Hoot?
I would have liked another receiver, maybe over like when you already have these backs. I don't get the 6 for Gainwell and the 7 for Algier. Like, that's 13 that could have been thrown at a receiver. Like, he could have. I'm trying to look around these later round receivers. Like, but sure, for 13, you could have had DK Metcalf. I don't want DK Metcalf, but you know, you could have done something. You get Adam Thielen. Like, yeah, there you go. Okay, so you could have. There's 13 right there. You could have gone Adam Thielen, and then you could have gone Darnell Mooney. Like, I think this team's nasty if that's your 3rd receiver, then Tyler Lockett's your 4th receiver.
Yeah.
Because, like, when is Kenneth Gainwell and Tyler Algier, like, what are you hoping for? Like, an injury, and then you trade them when they're hot, and maybe you get something out of that. But, like, otherwise, you've got your 4 starting running backs. Like, that's it. You don't need maybe one of those dudes, but you didn't need to spend $13 on that. And that's again, if that's the critique you're getting, that's an awesome critique. Like, I think that's probably the best way to say this is, like, you have these 4 backs, you have Josh Allen, you have Devontae Adams. This team is like you're a playoff caliber team. Jerry Jeudy is not where I would have allocated that 20. I look at Terry McLaurin right next to it, and I'm like, fuck yes, like that's definitely the swap. I would make that swap 100 times. But that's just me, you know. Jerry Jeudy might be the dude. Like, I don't know. I'm in on Courtland Sutton, but we don't know. So I get people being on what they're in on. but I think this team has championship aspirations, and I think it makes sense. Like I think it's a very solid team.
Yep. I think that about sums it up. We can now move on to the main event. And I will get on my soapbox and I will say this. Gentlemen of Apex, I do not have a winning season in this league. My best finish was a 7-7 when I had to win 4 straight at the end of the year to get to that point. I say this to you. That changes this year, my friends. Your asses are in fucking trouble. Because I have finally found a way to not fuck it up. This team...
You know what that is? It's keep Cooper Kupp and just draft Derrick Henry.
That's exactly goddamn right, Curn. Because that's what we fucking did. And y'all are so fucked. Because as we've established from Curn talking about how good Thielen and $60 Jamar Jefferson is, Kirk Cousins is probably the quarterback 1 this year. So let's get that out of the way now. Then you've got Derrick Henry, who, I mean, can someone be a running back .5? Because that's what he is. Don't get me started on Damian Harris for $3. As we just saw, Cooper Kupp lubricated Kern's asshole last night. We've got Brandon Cooks kept for $5, who you can talk shit about the Texans, but Bulls on parade, baby. Davis Mills is here. $5? Are you kidding me? We play the fucking AFC South twice a year. Let's go. DJ Moore.
That's a spectacular pick. I just want to shout out the Brandon Cooks thing. Did you keep that?
I got to keep. But I
Okay.
did. But I drafted him for $5 last year too. People never believe in this man. DJ Moore for $29.
Spectacular.
Just
Love me
Spectacular.
DJ Moore.
pissing excellence over here. We've got Dawson Knox for $3. Who gives a fuck? He had a 1-point game. He'll have some touchdowns other weeks. I don't give a fuck about him. We've got Amari Cooper for $16. We've got Chris Godwin for $28.
You just did it right. You did what, like, you basically built a team that I was building, but, like, you
But
also
better.
happen to have the luxury of buying Derrick Henry. It's like,
We have Henderson for $11. We've got Renfro for $6. Oh, and then who gives a fuck about the rest of the roster?
You have 4 such good running backs or wide receivers just to have at a constant pace. And Derrick Henry's not going anywhere, and now you've just learned that you probably got Darrell Henderson.
He's got 6 good receivers. I want to be clear. This receiver group is awesome.
It's
Godwin,
lit.
Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, and then Renfro for this really is ANF.
I'd rather pay Renfro price than that Devontae Adams price.
Renfro was the wide receiver 11 last year. 11.
Yeah, no, you had an out. ANF, you set yourself up for success. I believe fully in the Minnesotan pass attack. I think that Kirk Cousins is going to have a spectacular season. Honestly, who cares about your RB2, to be completely honest? Like, even if Darrell Henderson gets caught smoking ganj tonight and is suspended for 10 games, because that's how it works. Like, whatever. You have Derrick Henry and you have 5. Well, to Hoot's point, you have 6 really prime serviceable wide receivers who are just going to constantly give you solid production. And, like, yes. ANF, you have my favorite team. So you've done a fantastic job.
Y'all are on fucking notice, Curn. Oh, and I was really.
It is a shame. It's a shame that I'm going to beat you this week, but
You're not beat.
You're eventually going to have your moment in the sun. Look. All I'm saying is you had a spectacular, like, rub on my titties Cooper Kupp week, but somehow your Vegas odds changed by half a point. And I'm still favored.
I don't give a. They're projected probably Christian Watson for 9 points. I don't give a fuck about sleeper projections.
The books are hot and they're coming for you, and we're going to sing melodies on Sunday. So, but your time is coming, ANF. Rest assured, you're gonna have a great week 2 against whoever the fuck you play. But this week, you're just saying it. But we'll see. You might get a prime. Sorry, I pounded that ass. Trade request next week for Curn for Darrell Henderson. So we'll keep that off the record.
and you know what? I'm feeling hot right now. Let's say Jerry Jeudy keeps sucking dick. KJ Hamler is in that ass.
Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah. No, your deep receivers are even good. KJ Hamler, David Bell, great shots.
Lit.
Like all of your receivers are dope. Kirk Cousins for $1 is exactly what you're looking to do in a league like this, where there's no price for quarterbacks. Dawson Knox, like you said, it's a fine. All tight ends suck after the top three. The weakness of this team is running back 2 and 3, and if Darrell Henderson is the dude, like even if he sucks, which he does suck, but even if he's just the guy in that running back offense, you're getting your 7 to 10 points. Damon Harris can be the turd that he is, and your team's still going to be good. So, like, it is. You really do the Darrell Henderson thing hitting for you. If that's going to continue all season, that does elevate this team from like a very good team to, again, championship aspirations. It's all there.
Oh,
Don't fuck it up, ANF. Don't fuck it up.
Lippy is going to be some fucked up trade come Monday morning,
You're gonna get Saquon Barkley. Rest assured, Libby's on the phone, so I'm not gonna badger him, but I just know how he works. He's not going to not trade after this week.
Yeah.
His projections aren't looking that great. He's going to remain very liquid as he is. You're going to have a nice Saquon Barkley and Amon-Ra St. Brown trade in your inbox Tuesday morning, and you're going to have to think very long and hard.
Like this is the thing. An ANF that wasn't as spurned and fucked on by this league, he would have and has accepted those trades from Lippy and others. But that's done. That's over with. I have just been shit on. So and here's what I would argue. You miscreants of this league have not been the ones that have shit on me. Do you know who has been the number one person that has fucked ANF?
ANF.
It is ANF. That is a goddamn fact. Not this time, my friends. This time we stay the course. And we are not going to get duped by Flim Flam or Sparkly Lights. We're totally down for trading. I've tried to trade with Hunter earlier this week, but we are sticking to what we know is fact about these players. And God help you all, because we are taking no prisoners this year. Let's move on to TMO.
No, like ANF, when you legit trade Hunter Renfrow for one of these starting running backs in like week 4, your team's gonna be insane.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right.
Like I can see the Renfrow for Chase Edmonds trade already, or the Kareem Hunt trade already. It's just gonna be gorgeous for you. What's that team? What's that team that needs receivers? Who is that? Here we go.
The guy that never trades, Hunter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, dude, Hunter, dude who doesn't trade, like, you gotta have to trade. You need receivers. So, let's figure that out.
Yep. That's a fact.
Don't worry. Shaw's going to slide in real quick, and I'm going to dangle all these wonderful pieces in front of people's faces after they go off week 1. It's all set in stone.
In a quick diversion of our kind of hammer it out through the team's plan, I talked with Hunter, and I'm like, dude, I really think you get a king's ransom for CMC, and he was very stubborn at the idea of trading him. So I really think it's going to be very unlikely for Eckler or McCaffrey to get put into other parts. I think Hunter really is, at least for the first half of the season, going to stay static with what he's got. And we'll see what happens. It could be the right thing to do. Okay. TMO drafted Lamar Jackson. I believe his keepers were Ramondre, and it was Michael Gallup, right, Curn?
Yeah, actually was a $2 Michael Gallup. A very surprising last-minute pivot, but, fuck it, we're here for it.
Yeah, so he kept Ramondre Stevenson and Michael Gallup. I think is very pleased already with spending up to get Diggs. I'm interested in what you'll think about this, because I think this team has a lot of really good players at good values, and then he's got some players that I'm a little nervous about, and maybe not super in on. Like, where are y'all on Deontay Johnson? Because I kind of went into this draft saying I really don't know what's going to happen in Pittsburgh other than Monstar's Najee is going to get a lot of carries. I don't know what's going to happen with those carries, but I know that is the one thing I truly believe will happen is that Najee is going to be a workhorse. Where are y'all on the Pittsburgh receiving game?
So I don't have Deontay in any league this year after being big on Deontay last year. Like, I was a huge Deontay guy last year, got him in pretty much all my leagues. He hit, it was great, it was all party for everybody. I don't, other than in Sleeper being in, other than in Dynasty being in on Pickens, I'm with you, I don't know where I fall. I think they're all dart shots. That being said, I don't think 10 is bad value for that. Like, 10 is very good value for that. For a dude who's coming off of a season where he was a wide receiver, one? I think? Like, what was his...
Wide receiver
12. Wide receiver 12.
And 8 in PPR.
8 in PPR last year. To get him for $10, like, I kind of fucking love that, which is crazy because I don't have any Deontay shares myself. But that, I think that's great value in, again, this league, the way this is set up.
I mean, I would agree. Like,
I agree with that.
I mean, I mean, if I like a Renfro for 6, I have to like Deontay for 10. So, I'm also curious.
He leaned into it and went and got Pat Freiermuth too. So I guess he leaned into the whole offense. But it's only $1 investment. He can always cut Pat Bluetooth if he sucks.
What do y'all think about Lamar this year? What do y'all think? Does the contract matter? Does that affect y'all? Does the running back health affect y'all?
I always love Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson is just the fucking
amazing,
just the fucking cheat code. He's just the cheat code to always have 100-yard rushing like every other game, dude. Like, he's just that dude.
Yeah.
No, I love Lamar, love DeAndre, love Ramondre. Michael Gallup at 2 is great. Stephon Diggs at 44, again, for the receiver pricing is good. Chubb at 51, pretty actually. I mean,
I was gonna get it. I was in on it. And
me and Curn were both in on it.
That's where I was.
Me and Curn were both in on it, but TMO scared us off. But I don't think that's a crazy price either.
35 to 40.
It's not a steal. It's like, it's one of those that's like, it's not a steal, but when you talk about the draft for an hour, you're like, actually, kind of is it? Like, it's not. You know, again, I don't love it as much as I love the running backs who went for like 17 to 27. Like, again, I think that was where the value was in this draft. But I don't hate it for, $10 less, $15 less than a lot of these other dudes went for when he has a chance to be, just as good.
Or to beat a dead horse, it's 11 more than Cam Akers.
We gotta leave Cam Akers alone.
I wish you could show the people my ADP boards. I nerded out and I actually made like an ADP board of like what the ADP would look like just on like rounds 1, 2, 3 based on the pricing. Nick Chubb went at the 112, so he went at the 112.
But that includes 2 rounds of keepers, so
it does. But looking at the keepers, there's not a ton of, at least at the top half. Like there's a couple, but a lot of dudes kept a lot of like just value like dart throws later in the draft, like Ramondre and like Gallup and
No, I get. And like, Kev, I get that 100%. Like, again, I'm looking at this allocation. I'm looking at his roster. I just think if you're sitting there and you go, I've got Lamar, Nick Chubb, and DeAndre Swift with Stephon Diggs and Deontay Johnson and Ramondre as my flex. What you're really saying is like, okay, I need a wide receiver 3
that Gallup
to emerge, and which Gallup will be, I think, when he comes back. And like for the time being, it's like Jarvis is not a bad one. Jameis, I mean, it's just. I don't. This team isn't like as stacked as like I say the 3 or 4. Like I think there's maybe 3 teams really stand out so far, but it's a good roster. I do like this one a lot.
I love DeAndre Swift. He was on my big board. 60. Looking back, I may have actually paid 60 for DeAndre Swift just because of how high I am. But I think you're buying DeAndre kind of at a ceiling at $60. But I mean, so I love that. Love Diggs. I traded him Ramondre for some draft bucks. I mean, like I drafted him last year. Big fan of him. Think he's prime, and obviously love Lamar. Yeah, I mean, love the Jahan Dotson. That's the wrong team. My bad. Jahan Dotson for $1. I mean, he's been getting lots of good Raven camp. He's got good running backs kind of stashed away on his bench too. Like love that Jeff Wilson.
I love the Jeff Wilson pick too.
Love that. Don't really care for the Ronald Jones pick, and Kenny Drake could be something, you know? I mean, Crowder looked pretty good. Cobb looked pretty good.
Crowder's going to be
Pretty good team
involved.
overall.
Crowder's going to be involved.
Pretty good team overall.
I mean, not to. This is such a minor thing, Timo. I mean, you got him for $1. I think the Ronald Jones pick is immaterial. I think the Kenny Drake pick is immaterial. I think Timo will move on to better players on the waiver wire, which is totally fine because those players are not integral to his team whatsoever. So I mean, you know, just like so many people do, you know, not every pick you have is super duper important. I mean, the last couple a lot of times don't matter. I think we'll look back at Timo's team, and Ronald Jones and Kenny Drake for $1 will not be anywhere part of the story that this team tells.
And so that is the one I understand with that, but that's where again I say, okay, with that being how we're looking at it, how he probably should look at it, take shots. I mean, this team would be so much sicker with, again, not to keep inflating ANF's ego here, but like
get the air pump.
If you swap Kendrick Drake and Ronald Jones for David Bell and KJ Hamler, it's like, okay, now I see what's happening. Yeah. Like, you've got your running backs, you've got your quarterback, you've got one elite wide receiver, one kind of like, you got a cheapo number 2. Now you're just taking dart throws to find that third, and like I love that. I love that as a strategy. I love that as the draft's evolving, as you're walking through its strategy. And again, I agree. He's just going to cut Ronald Jones and Drake and pick up the same guys on the wire. So it's like, it's not a big deal, but it's you'd be sitting a little prettier if you're purely from a drafting exercise.
What do y'all think about Randall Cobb this year? Where, if anywhere, do you have a feeling about him?
I have him in one league where my team is absolute dog shit. If I have a quality roster, I assume I'd have better receivers than Randall Cobb.
I assume that Mr. Curn is well aware of what the Cobb can do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Randall Cobb beat me like 3 years ago as well.
The return.
Yes, fucking Monstar. So to give you some backdrop, Monstar likes to draft very odd, very strange, agnostic rosters. He's gotten better at it, but then he'll randomly say, "You know what? I'm gonna start like Jason Witten in the lineup." You're kind of like sitting there going, "Huh? That's kind of fucking stupid." But sure, Monstar, start Jason Witten. And it's the one year where like the announcers go, and that's his 3rd touchdown for Jason Witten, his biggest game in a decade. And Monstar is like, "Yep, could have seen that coming." And my head explodes. I get so mad. It's always against me.
I will say this: I am the newest and youngest Apex member of this being is this my 4th season, 5th season? I don't care. But there is no one better in Apex at showing up on primetime games than Monstar. So a few years ago, Bevo Brisket had one loss in his perfect season hoot, and it was Monstar himself that delivered the loss. He beats Curn on big weeks, he beats Lippy on big weeks. No one plays on Sunday night better than Monstar does.
Monstar destroys playoff dreams like it's no one's business.
Yes.
He's like never even on the radar of getting it, but then we'll come out and like week 12, like just
absolutely
shows the
shit
fuck
on
up,
and everything that should have been happening for the whole year clicks, and Monstar's team just goes bananas. But I think
you did a good job this year, Monstar, with your draft.
I was gonna say, are we transitioning over?
Yeah, we will.
Let's do it.
We will. We had ETN for $2, Najee for $59 as keepers. We have Kyler at quarterback. We have Tyreek, DK, Pickens at receiver. We've got Waller for 10 at tight end. I think there's a lot to like about this team. There are, things I'm nervous about. For instance, I'm nervous about Miami, but I think Tyreek for $31 is a great value. I'm nervous about. Actually, I would say I'm not nervous. I'm downright disrespectful about Seattle this year. But DK for $11 seems like a great value. I don't know. I think that
you got weird wide receiver value that makes sense.
Yes.
Like the $11 net cap is pretty. It's not great.
I don't know about Ayuk, but him for $8 seems like a value.
Not just Ayuk though for $8. Ayuk has been absolutely lighting it up in camp with Trey Lance. I think Ayuk is going to be the receiver to have on San Francisco this year. As crazy as it sounds with Debo, I think he's literally going to be the one who catches the most touchdowns there.
Oh, get his ass.
Don't have throwing it out there.
Kelly, I do love Ayuk at 8. I do what so talk to me about Treylon at 9. Like, what's going? What was? Is that a future play? Is that a you believe? Like, walk me through that one. That's the one. That
we
is
call
looking at
that
this
we call
roster.
that the Monstar special. We
So
call
that's the one. I don't love DK, but again, that's one of those ones where I can get where someone else is different. Like, I understand why they wouldn't be as scared off as I would be. But the Treylon one, and I'm not saying it's bad. I just I want to hear a Treylon. It's not, again, 9 is not like you're a believer. I just want to hear the Treylon. I just want to hear the pitch.
He wants to hear the pitch
what
on the Kia Sorento.
Yeah.
You hit the bid button 8 times.
Last year, in terms of what happened with Tennessee's wide receivers, clearly he kind of had a breakdown of the situation with AJ Brown and Julio, both of whom aren't there anymore. He brought in Robert Woods, and that's going to give you some deep threat value. And Treylon's just a big motherfucker, so you're going to be going working a lot of times with Henry trying to get it down and drive down the field. I think Treylon's going to be that guy who's going to be able to kind of be the out route and the release valve for when there's pressure. I think he's going to be in a position where he's going to be in the end zone a lot, and he's going to get a lot of end zone targets. You can't smash Henry every single time, although you can a lot. And for those that you can't, Treylon's going to be the guy.
I mean, that is Monstar. Let me say that is the best pitch I've heard for Treylon Burks ever. Period.
That's the pitch that we're going to get. That's the pitch we're going to get in 2 weeks when we get a Treylon Burks offer in our door.
That might be true, and this is what I'm saying. I have to fight my my ANF urges to be duped by these trades, but I just thought to myself, like, well, hey, shit. I mean, fuck, maybe he's right. Because that's a great pitch, Monstar. That is a really good way to sell Treylon Burks. And Hunter, if you're listening, Treylon Burks would be a major upgrade for you at wide receiver off that pitch alone, because there is no way you could make anywhere near a compelling argument for Watson and Osborne. Let me say that right now. I don't know. And it's such a small part of the team. Like, if that's the sticking point.
The $27 Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah,
we talked about. I think
that's expensive. That is expensive for Mitchell, because I love the Jeff Wilson pick for $1, and maybe if everything goes, normally for Mitchell, then $27 won't seem expensive. But
there's just no touchdown upside for
they just
any
seem
running back on that team.
All of the running backs on that team just seem like disposable. Like it's just like they just throw them away in the garbage. I thought I was
the number one running back on that team. The number one running back on that team is Trey Lance.
Facts.
Facts. But I actually don't think that to jump in here again. $27. I get why y'all think that's high. I do like this pick.
Look at the Cam Akers again.
Akers went for 40.
I like this. Like, I like the idea of if you end the season with him as as a rookie last year in the same system, he's RB26. Like, that's fine in a situation where all he needs to do is repeat that. Let's say he just repeats that he's RB26. You've got Najee, who's going to be a top 12 running back. You've got Kyler. You've got these receivers. Darren Waller's a fucking monster. I think James Robinson might end up being a starting running back again. It's like they're starting running back again. And you have the ETN, so you have the boom and the floor. Like, I don't mind in that situation. I really don't mind that for Elijah. Like, I really, really do not mind that at all.
Yeah.
I think the big point of excitement here, just in terms of my squad, I think Pickens has a chance to blow the fuck up. I don't know what's going to come out of the Steelers wide receiver core. We kind of mentioned that earlier. I think that could be a boom or bust. You don't know what kind of fucking Mitch Trubisky
of 2021 or 2022.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell is going to come out of that, because you don't know what Mitch Trubisky is going to look like this year, or when they're going to fucking move on from him.
But are you starting Ayuk instead of Pickens, or are you starting Pickens this week?
Ayuk's starting this week, for sure.
Okay. Word.
Pickens is going to ride the bench until we start to get a little bit more results out of him. Same thing with Treylon Burks.
Yeah.
I think Zamir White is going to, the dude's a fucking stud. Unfortunately, whether or not it's going to happen.
I like Zamir White. He's big and beefy.
Yeah, I think he's going to mash a lot of touchdowns. I also think that there's a good chance that by the end of the year, James Cook may be of significant value. Obviously, didn't look great last night, but
yeah, that was
plenty of bench spots and time for him to ride. So no worries there.
You're not calling him up to active duty for a while, so that part
absolutely
that's well made.
Monstar, what are your thoughts on Josh Jacobs? Like, are you out on Josh Jacobs? Are you mediocre? Do you have positive feelings? I would, as much as I like Michelle, I really would love, and I'm personally, I'm a Josh Jacobs guy, and I'm a big stacker guy. I would love your roster with Josh Jacobs and Mitchell switched, and then you have the Zamir White like insurance policy. That would really like that tickles my balls, and so I want to hear like what's your Josh Jacobs thoughts?
Look, I mean, I think Jacobs is the guy who has a ton of talent on him. He's someone who has been very, very good in the past. Last year, he kind of showed that he could be particularly injury prone, and that's kind of a knock in my book. Kenyon Drake picked up the slack a lot last year, and slowly, I mean, even when Jacobs came back and he was at 100%, he still didn't have the same role he did on the front side of that. So I think Jacobs is a good value, generally, where he was taken. But if I'm picking between $8 Zamir White or 25 Jacobs, I'm going to go with Zamir because I think by the end of the season he's going to be getting more touchdowns.
Oh, no. So I didn't mean instead. I meant a Josh Jacobs if he swapped Elijah Mitchell.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think Mitchell has more of an upside than Jacobs does. Jacobs will have a more consistent base, though, between the two of them at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I disagree with that, but
I might be the last dude on Josh Jacobs.
No, I've been on Josh Jacobs too.
I think they're going to run. I think they're going to run Josh Jacobs into the ground with reckless abandon and then throw him into the scrap heap at the end of the year.
And like, not re-signed.
He won't last getting run that much to the ground. He's
But
I mean, we say that, but the last 2 seasons he's played 15 games. He's been the running back 11-8 by PPR.
I know he has very prime boom weeks that are good, and I mean that's fine.
That's fine. Like who cares?
He's done fuck all for me in the years I've owned him.
All right, this is
the final.
This is the exact. Hold on. Two bad arguments here. First of all, he's done fuck all for you. He's been a running back 2 in his worst season as a rookie, and the next 2 seasons he's been running back 1 by both seasons. So he's done great for you when you've had him. Second of all, I hate that argument of like, oh, he's a boom in, boom out guy. Like it's the argument that everyone always uses against Tyler Lockett. Yeah, sure. 5 weeks of the season, Tyler Lockett's getting you 5 points. 3 weeks of the season, you fucking win because of Tyler Lockett. You get 50 points. Like, it doesn't matter how you get the points or how they come. It's about all you can look for is getting those points over the course of the season. And again, I did not expect this to be my soapbox Josh Jacobs moment, but like, dude, like I again, maybe this is making me go back and really just love on Bevo when you listen to this. Like the Josh Jacobs pick was just fucking prime, man. Like $25 for what a dude who I do think is going to just have one last season where they just, again, mercilessly destroy his body. Like, he has no hope for the future. But it's a redraft league, so, like, who cares? And I love, and again, like I said, I love that with the stack. If you get that Zamir White Jacob stack, and it does happen that they drop him off a cliff and don't care about him, you don't care because you've got it. So,
do you think Josh McDaniels is going to feature him, though?
Yes. I think he gets. Does he get third down work in obvious passing situations, like 3rd and 12? Maybe not. I think he's still on the field for 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 5s. I think he's going to get I think that they have a shitty offensive line and a great passing attack, and so to make that work, they're going to run a lot of play action, and to make that work, they're going to actually have to run the ball a bit. And I think when they run the ball a bit, and when they, especially when they get in the red zone, as he's shown it throughout his entire career as a coach, he likes to run the ball in the red zone. So I think you're going to see a lot of touchdowns there. Like I'd expect a touchdown leap actually out of what we've seen. And then again, does his receiving work drop? Maybe, sure, but I don't know. I think this is the last. Again, from a dynasty standpoint, no, I'm out. But for a redraft standpoint, give me a taste.
Well, yeah, I look at his targets last year. I mean, looking at the raw numbers, I think he had a pretty fair amount of touchdowns there. Like he had 12 in 2020 and 9 in 21. Like is he on? Like is he set to get double-digit touchdowns this year? Like
I think so. I think if I was gonna bet for a running back to have the most rushing touchdowns in the year, I think I might put money on Josh Jacobs. I actually legit might pull this up.
Maybe you're just eyeballs into this whole Josh McDaniels fucking Devontae Adams reunion with Derek Carr. Like I think it's fine, it's fun, but I they were really good last year, man. Like they made the playoffs and like were making noise. Like they could get better, but like how much better could they get? And how does that look for Josh Jacobs with a new coaching staff? Like I don't know. You add Devontae Adams, who's going to take away a red zone target. I don't know. I don't know. I faded him when he came in the league. I'll be wrong about him, I guess. That's fine. I don't know.
I actually can end up being wrong on him. That's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm. I think
it's
again.
Fair
This is all a game. This is all gambling, and that's the gamble that I want to roll this year.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Well, that's going to take us to our last team, Neal, with Justin Herbert and Michael Pittman keepers. We have Breece Hall, we have Kamara, we have Keenan Allen, Robert Woods, Kittle, Miles Sanders, Patterson, Michael Carter, Elijah Moore, Ingram, Ogwebanon, Pierce, and Isaiah McKenzie. Interested. Let's just keep the Thursday night thoughts going. What do y'all think about Isaiah McKenzie? He got a touchdown, right? He had that touchdown third quarter, if I'm correct.
He had a baby reveal. Did you see that? He was giving.
Yeah. That was.
I know if it was a meme or not, but he gave a baby reveal. Like I think like his sister was
His
having
sister.
a kid, and
Yeah,
that's crazy. Good for him. How hype is that?
3 targets, 2 receptions, 19 yards and a touchdown for Isaiah McKenzie.
Do you think that red zone look is completely contingent on him being like, "Hey man, like my sister needs to find out about his kid, like their kid, like please just give me like a quick fade, and, like let me score this touchdown," or do you think like
I don't know. Let me ask this: rest of season, who would you rather own, Isaiah McKenzie or Jamison Crowder? Because I am, no offense, Neal, this is like a very small point of your team. I'm firmly in the Jamison Crowder camp. But
I'm not firmly in either. I have shares of both. I think it's gonna. I do think that they're gonna probably swap it back and forth. I think, God, this pains me to say it, but Chris Collinsworth probably made a very good point on TV, which is you're gonna want Isaiah McKenzie against man teams, and you're gonna want Jamison Crowder against zone teams. And I think that's just what's gonna end up happening. Like if they're gonna be facing mostly zone heavy looks, then they're gonna go with the vet who can like really read that shit. And if you're in a man heavy look, then you want the athlete. And until one of them separates, I think that's probably the best way to evaluate that matchup week in, week out.
So quick follow-up to that question. If you were paid $100 and were told that you would not face legal prosecution, would you strangle Chris Collinsworth live on air?
Not live on air because I would be pretty sexually aroused by it, so I'd have to.
That's half of why I would say yes.
you pitching a mad tent?
I hate him so much. He has surpassed Joe Buck in terms of my ire for announcers, and Tirico does not know how to rate him in like Al Michaels. God, Al, you can't leave that man unsupervised. But anyway, what do y'all think about Neal's team? What do y'all think about the man who got to keep Pittman for
he
$3
kept Pittman, yeah,
and Herbert for $1?
The Breece Hall pick. Now that I'm looking through everything, I thought it was a value when we first saw it, but I mean, he gets to keep him next year, sure, but like, I don't know. Like we saw how much Javonte Williams got kept for, and that seemed like a good value. Like, so I think Breece has to return Javonte Williams' value, and I think on a team like the Jets, that's going to be tough to have to swallow and keep him again next year. Like, how much better? I was really high on Breece Hall coming into the season, like with his athletic profile and all the dynasty shit that like you fucking jerk off about that we all love. But now that I'm getting more like real and rubbing the fucking dynasty hype off, the Jets are going to be really bad, and I think looking at everything. Now I'm going back on it. I think I would rather have a $25 Josh Jacobs than Breece Hall for $32. I mean, for sure.
I mean, I easily would rather have Josh Jacobs for $25. No offense.
I mean, Kamara for $65 on the big board makes him the RB 1, 2, 3, 4, the RB 5, which I think you're kind of losing value at that point. Even though I think Kamara's gonna be dope, I think it's you could have gotten I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just nitpicking, but I mean, I would have rather just paid $1 less for Saquon, or paid $2 less for Cook, or even paid $5 less for Swift, or even Nixon. I mean, or J Jets for that matter. I think I'd take all those guys over him. But I mean, That's fine if you want to roll that. Love me some Kamara. Good value on Robert Woods. I think that's, no offense, Monstar, Robert Woods over that Traylon Burke shit. I think Robert Woods would be much more efficient, and love the Keenan Allen value. I mean, George Kittle's hurt. That kind of sucks. The groin injury.
What's going on there? Does anyone have an update there? Like, I saw that there was
groin injury for a tight end. That's just gonna fucking linger.
Yeah, it sucks.
And
so that kind of looks like it's going to be a kind of a crater in his budget, but
that makes the Waller pick look a lot better also. To get
Sure.
Waller for 10.
Love the Elijah Moore $5 pick. That's also really prime. He at least stacked the Pittman,
Yes.
or he at least stacked the Breece Hall and
So-
Harden thing.
So the thing I want to call out the most about this draft is that he stacked both his running backs, which I think is fucking awesome. And then he took Miles Sanders and Cordarrelle, who are two guys who can be a flex. I love this back setup. I get what y'all are saying from a pricing standpoint, but I absolutely fucking love these stacks. And then those two dudes as your flex. The George Kittle injury is tough, but the running backs here were just, again, well executed from a strategy, like a clear, you got guys, then you got their handcuffs, and you got flex guys to contribute and also step in, like just a well-executed running back strategy.
And for the Kittle injury, I think Aguamo's a pretty good fill-in. Like, I think that's a nice little backup piece there for him of swapping in someone that could, same kind of thing as Dawson Knox. He's on a good offense.
Alberto scares me a little bit because you never get tight end usage from, like, I think I will see what happens with Russell Wilson. Like, I am scared by the fact that he just doesn't throw over the middle of the field. I think that's the Jerry Jeudy thing that concerns me. Like, he's an outside the numbers quarterback. Jerry Judy's he does work outside the numbers, but his real great work is over the middle of the field. And then I think Alberto is going to be in a similar position where he's like maybe not getting targeted. He's not, again, that's just not where historically Wilson's gone. But again, as a guy to fill in for a couple of weeks I honestly almost would rather that. That's what I hate about injuries to tight ends and shit, and like good players who are like stars of their team. It's like George Kittle will definitely just like play through a groin injury all year and just be like at 60%. And it's like I'd much rather him just be out for 3 weeks and then get George Kittle back.
Well, have they said is he playing? Have they said if he's playing?
He's not playing this week. I mean, he didn't participate Friday, and I think it's like, he didn't practice today at all.
So,
I mean, it's
yeah. So this is outside the realm of fantasy a little bit, and we're kind of, this is going to be some tinfoil hat stuff. But so this is a team that was, correct me if I'm wrong, that they made it to the NFC Championship game, right? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Almost won it.
And I think consensus-wise, pretty much everyone in fantasy is thinking this team is, going to be middle of the road, maybe low end. Do you think that they would push for Kittle to play to try to secure dubs, or will they let him rest? Are they looking at the future? Is that something they're thinking about, or are they in it?
No. What's his name? The little Shanahan. It's all they're trying to win each week. Like there's none of that shit.
Because
in that
their pick situation is pretty fucked up, right? Because of
the pick. They don't have their picks anymore. They've got a GM who's a former player and a coach who needs to win. Like this team is trying to win every game.
Yeah.
That's love Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman and Keenan Allen is fucking awesome, and Robert Woods is just a really nice, pretty wide receiver 3 to have there, and has very good flex options. But between Sanders, Cordell, Elijah Moore, and that's really the only 3 flex options I would really even consider. I mean, those are awesome, and he's got handcuffs. He's got like a very sound team. I mean, very sound. Losing Kittle does suck a little bit, but I mean, great value wide receiver, and if Breece Hall goes off and can be a difference maker in the second half of the season, I think he'll be swinging, clanging and banging. Love that Herbert Keenan Allen stack.
The Herbert and Pittman keepers were so juicy, Neal. You started off with a great keeper situation, and I think you did a really good draft to pair it with great keepers. And Neal was getting a lot of love during the draft. So while everyone was reminding Curn about how god awful his team was, people were very complimentary of Neal and did real time, we kind of got to see this very solid roster emerge. Dare I say, I will hypothetically say Neal is the litmus test. If I were to say that, I would hypothetically say it's Neal.
I would say that too. I think this is a perfect, like, sound, comfortable. Like this roster makes you warm and snuggly when you sleep at night. Like you're not
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that I was blowing people out of the water, but like I feel extremely cuddly with this roster.
Going into every week, you're feeling all right, and like you have a good chance of winning. Really like the team deal. I feel like I Neal's someone else who I always seems to come out of the draft really strong, and then just random bullshit piles up. But I guess we've done every team. Any other thoughts, like as a whole, about these rosters? Any other thoughts? We just to kind of wrap up the roster and draft discussion. Any closing thoughts you might have?
I mean, I think I hit my big takeaways from the draft earlier as we kind of did it live, but like I do think from a purely academic standpoint, like or fantasy nerd standpoint or whatever, like to me the most interesting part about this is how if I were to have been thrown into this with this foresight, how like building a roster around the dead zone running backs would have just crushed.
Yeah,
like you could have come out with 5 good running backs for $60 if you knew how this was going to play out.
Right.
Like, and not great running backs, but like 5 decent running backs for like $60, $70, and that's just such a crazy position to be in fantasy football. Like, you almost never get that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You could have gotten Damian Harris and Darrell Henderson for 14. I mean, oh my goodness. That's just amazing.
It truly is. It truly is spectacular.
It's very interesting to hear an outsider's perspective on this, just because we are so caught up in our bubble of how we draft, and I honestly I think this is true. So much of what we do in draft is just based off of the fever pitch that starts going around. I'm thinking I'm going to upload the draft audio with the draft board as it goes, but there's so much goading. There's so much just back talk that's happening as players go up, like, oh my gosh, this guy's going for so cheap, and then they'll get 9 bids placed on him. It's all of a sudden they won't be cheap at all. But it's very interesting to hear an outsider perspective just come and basically say, like, this is kind of wild. And I think, like, from what Curn was saying about another league they're in Pikes Peak League, I feel like just about every auction is, especially when you've got a dedicated group of people that all know each other and have been drafting together for quite a while. It's so interesting just based off, the changes and the things that happen mid-draft. Interesting stuff. I think that Curn his phone died. So maybe we call it there. I guess. Let me go ahead, quick hoot. Let me get your let me get your MVP. Let me get your MVP of week 1, not of the draft.
Okay.
Well, hell, we'll do that too. Well, let's get your least favorite and favorite picks of the draft. And Cam Akers for 40 is not an option.
Yeah, okay. Taking Cam Akers for 40 off. I mean, I after like legit spreading the boner of the Josh Jacobs thing, I feel like I gotta kind of
pick Josh Jacobs. Yeah.
Yeah, which isn't actually my favorite pick of the draft, but I do feel like that was good. God, I really like Lippy. I don't like to give Lippy compliments at all. That's a joke. Lippy's a wonderful, wonderful man. AJ Dillon at 11 is really fucking good.
That was a keeper, but yes.
Oh,
it is excellent. Yeah.
Okay, so remind me when I get wrong keepers. All right, Miles Sanders at 11, I really like. DJ Moore at 29, I love.
That's an exceptional pick. Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk at 8, I really, really like.
Could be very good.
I'm scrolling back here. You know what? Fuck. I mean, again, ANF. I hate to keep giving you this fluff, but like Hunter Renfrow at 6 probably is going to end up being very close to it. That's just so spectacular. Like he has just as good a chance as being the dude who ends up like. So this is what I'll say. I'm looking at this batch of. I'm looking at from Bevo to Cornman. And like I like all 9 of those receivers to varying degrees. Like from Devontae all the way to Michael Thomas, that like the 3 stacks of receivers right there. That's a great group of receivers. Really like those. Exclude Tyler Lockett's whatever, but like I think there's a good chance. There's almost a coin flip chance that at 6, Hunter Renfrow ends up beating, of those 5, like excluding Tyler Lockett, of those 8, excluding Tyler Lockett, who all went for almost triple what he went for, if not more. I think there's a great chance he ends up being right in the middle of the pack, and that's just such a spectacular value to get.
Oh, wow! That's spot on analysis right there. Let's get your least favorite pick. Oh, Curn's hopping back on too, so we'll get his as well. Let's go ahead and get your
least favorite pick. I'm scrolling through right now to try and see if I see one. I mean, I don't want to bash Kev of the Rashad Penny because I actually don't think 21 for Rashad Penny is terrible. There's not a lot. I mean, Kittle for 20 is tough. Now I know he got hurt, so that's not fair. So I'll cut that one out. Kenneth Walker for 15. Maybe. I think they're gonna redshirt him a bit. Like I don't think there's any rush anymore. Clyde for 32, I don't love, but again, I kind of see how it happened.
I mean, the guy. So Ghali, the guy that drafted Clyde, that was his least favorite pick of the draft. He said so himself.
No, I get that. Like I don't love that one. I don't love. Andy's not on this podcast, so he won't yell at me. But like, I don't love AJ Brown. I don't think that's bad value on AJ Brown. I think that's really pretty good value on AJ Brown. But I don't love him. Like others, like again, same thing with Jerry Jeudy. Like that's not bad Jerry Jeudy value, but I don't love Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
That's probably. I mean, there's not a lot of bad picks. I think speaks to the quality of this league. Like even the teams that we kind of got on a little bit, which again. People who don't know me and are like, why is this dude who I don't know mashing my team and this podcast of these assholes who I play with? I'm sorry. I'm coming objectively out here. I don't know any of y'all. It's outside
we want the truth. This is a podcast.
Yeah, outside of these couple of good fellows who are absolutely degenerates who do all these dynasty leagues with me. So I'm not coming in and trying to smash your team. I really do think that like all of these teams are pretty fucking good, and it speaks to the value, like the quality of this league. I don't know you guys, I don't know your league, but I do think like the quality of this league is apparent in looking at this draft. So there's not a lot of just like clearly bad picks. There's not a lot that I'm just like that's
what a sweet
garbage.
But there is a lot of wow. Just look at Shaw's picks.
Curn, you missed the Renfrow hour. We got favorite pick of the draft on Renfrow.
I knew who would love Renfrow.
So you know what? Yeah, this having looked through it all again twice, the ones I said stand. But like honestly, I think Treylon at 9 might be my least favorite. Like I just don't. I don't see why he's worth any
more than $1.
I wouldn't be taking that swing, and I think for 9. You could have done things that I think really would have popped that team off a little bit more. I do like that team, but I just like, that might be like again for Robert Woods when you could have Robert Woods for 7, like straight up on the same team when you could have Robert Woods for 7, like that stands out to me a little bit. But yeah, there aren't bad picks in this draft, and I think that again to round it out speaks to the quality of this draft. Except for Kevin's. Kevin's are bad picks.
Yes. Yeah. All my values were asshole picks. But the beautiful thing is that God, when you look at everyone's like dart throws, like all the hype little fuzzy little sleepers everyone loves all went for like a little more than they should have, which, speaks to how sharp everyone is, at least on the obvious hype picks. But the one thing I'll say is that we'll do this again in a few weeks, Hoot, and you might hop on, you and Andy or anyone who else who isn't like actively and like just seeing the day to day. But like I promise you, how this looks now versus like how it's going to look in maybe even 2 weeks. Like the turnover in this league That's kind of why I drafted a bunch of players that have just high market values because of just how often trades
How much
happen.
trading there is.
It's beautiful. So I think that liquidity will be rampant. I had texted ANF a quote to say, um, just to top it off because my phone had died, is that liquidity will run rampant in this league. Everything will be in the upside down in 2 weeks. So you'll come back in and be like, hey, like I wonder how that like I wonder how that like that Jalen Waddle and Jonathan Taylor team's doing. And I bet you in 2 weeks you might see James Conner, Mark Andrews, and Jamal Williams on Lippy's team next week. Who knows? But it is bound to happen.
Well,
Well, I'm very excited to see that because my leagues are not highly liquid. I
No, LXG has no
dynasty.
liquidity. LXG is
Yeah,
so
LSU has
stacked.
no liquidity. None of my season log leagues have any liquidity, and dynasty leagues have liquidity in the off season, not as much during the season. So it's like, yeah, my season long experience is not a highly liquid one. So I'm very intrigued to kind of watch how this folds out. And it makes sense that in doing an auction draft, that y'all would be highly liquid because there is a lot of like, well, I don't know. I guess it could be either way, but yeah, I'm very excited to see it. Again, as always, I truly appreciate being brought in
it's
to
our pleasure.
randomly shit talk these teams I don't know from the comfort of my couch. So it's always a pleasure. And again, thanks for
Build
having
the
me.
brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Curn, real quick, let me get your least favorite and favorite picks. We've had a few days to stew, and this one's going to go up on YouTube for sure.
I mean, my favorite pick, I would have to say, the Aaron Jones is pretty fucking good. That's a really good one.
Pretty juicy, Dustin.
That's a pretty fucking good Dusty pick. The Stephon Diggs pick is such a value too. Like a $44 Stephon Diggs. Like I'd rather have him straight up over Nick Chubb in a vacuum. Like I'd rather have him straight up. I mean, fuck. Like I picked him in the last draft I had over DeAndre Swift. Like I think I did. Yeah. I mean, like I would rather have him over a lot of these running backs. Like, and I mean, so I think that was a value. I mean, least favorite pick. I mean, just these fucking high end running backs that like in the dead zone. Like I didn't like my Rashad Penny pick. Didn't really care for this Chase Edmonds. I talked shit about fucking Josh Jacobs. This Chase Edmonds, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CEH, like, strange dead zone running back tier where instead of getting prime, juicy wide receivers, we're getting these running backs. So it's a mixed bag of those picks I like, but that's kind of the disparity where I thought was lost in this draft.
Okay. Well, I think so. I was kind of at a loss of what to pick because I was just so caught up in the goodness of my team that I didn't really know how to possibly appreciate anyone else's team because of how goddamn good mine was. But so first of all, I was going to say Aaron Jones, but I'll pick my, I guess, second favorite pick of the draft, and I will say, because Hoot was forced to pick a different one, but Josh Jacobs for 25 is just stellar. I think it's just awesome. Jack, that's my my favorite pick of the draft. There are plenty of good ones. And also, I'd like to formally apologize for Dustin because I was super against his team right after the draft. But the more I think about it, it's just super. You're gonna have a great year. Least favorite pick, if it's not Rashad Penny at 21 or Mike Davis at 2 or AJ Brown at 29, which it probably is all of those. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Hunter. And it's not Cam Akers. If it's not Cam Akers, sorry, Kcole. I guess my least favorite pick would it's not really a player. It's a draft strategy. I guess my least favorite would just be, I don't know what Hunter's going to do. I think his team's going to win games, but it's just I don't know what he's going to do. But I think he might very well be talked into trading, especially after hearing the astute wisdom that has been shared here today. So I don't think he should be counted out at all because he has excellent pieces that will fetch a king's ransom in trade. So if he decides to go down that route, the season is so alive for him, and he will still have excellent pieces to go. So that's kind of where I stand on it. Thank you both so much. Thank you to Monstar and Lippy.
Wait, hold on. Anna,
What's up?
No, you're not getting out of here with that bullshit answer. What's your least favorite pick of the draft? Come on, what do you think?
My least because
That Flower is you're gonna walk out of here without actually picking a guy.
Because that's the thing. Like
put the flag on somebody. Come on. No.
My least.
Hell no.
It's got to be one of these premium picks.
I mean, because the answers now is Cam Akers, but that's not. I can't say that.
No, yeah, Cam Akers doesn't count. I found some. It took some time. But look, I mean, you know, you'll get there. Give it a second.
So I guess I really have just started to
Mike Evans at 42. Like where you?
Yeah,
at?
so that's
a bad one.
That it's not. But I've come around to think it's not a good one, but it's not a bad one.
That puts him at the 201 in value. And granted, yes, there's a lot of keepers to add into that. But I mean, he even with 24 keepers,
but when I look at his draft strategy, he's got a Sutton, Russell Wilson stack, and that was after he got Jones and Elliott for cheap. So it's like I kind of like think he has the ability to have built-in inflation for a receiver of that caliber. So,
we've got to stop dick riding Zeke. I'm so ready for it to.
Yeah, I know you are, Curn. You've been ready since last year. It really might be Waddle.
Zeke
for
over
20.
Kelsey.
It might be Waddle for 21. I'm such a Waddle hater. I hated him last year when Monstar drafted him for super cheap, and I was peddled him all the time. I'm a Tua hater. I'm really happy that, actually, you know what? I'm not happy that Tyreek got paid. Fuck that guy. Yeah, I'm not happy for him.
No, it's a good correction. It's a good midway correction to be like, actually, fuck that dude.
Yeah.
You know what's looking like? Hold on. You know what's looking like a really shitty pick is the $27 AR-15.
Yeah, I mean, but dude, I think it's too early. I think on that one. Like, maybe that's that's me. Maybe that's me.
Pay the same price for T. Higgins. You could have paid $1 more for Godwin,
for DJ
$2 for or AJ Brown or Keenan Allen, or dare I say, you could have paid what's that math? $5 more, or no, that's bad math. You could have paid $8 more or $7 more and gotten CD Lamb.
That's almost
no. You should have stopped with you could have paid the same price for T. Higgins, and that says what you need to say. Like that is the value there is not right. The value there is not right.
Well, so a little peek behind the curtain because he's not here because his internet died. Lippy and I fucked each other on. We were the only two, I think, that had money left that were bidding on Godwin and Robinson, and we just kept bidding them up. So both were about to go for like $20, and then we just kept bidding each other up. Man, if I had gotten Godwin for $20, that pick would have just been even better. Anyway, but yeah, I think it's too early for the A-Rob pick. I'm kind of wilded out that he only got 2 targets, and the second one was that weird-ass because what was people have just been tweeting about this nonstop. Didn't Higbee get like 11 targets or something?
No, he got a couple, but he had.
There was some shitty other wide receivers who got
targets.
Did Higbee get drafted?
Why did let me look it up. It was something crazy though, because I'm like, okay, I totally understand it was the Cup show, but it was a nightmare for the offense.
Yeah, Ben Scunromneck got like 5 targets.
Yeah, he's
all
the
the
new
memes
Tutu Atwell.
that how like all the memes that are going around about how Stafford like when he sees like a black wide receiver, it's like he's like some black guy in the field.
No, I actually think it's still opposite. I think he just sees the white wide receiver and just thinks it's Cooper Kupp and just says fuck it.
That's very possible.
And he just sees a white dude running out there and it's like Cooper Kupp's out there somewhere. Fuck it, and just chucks.
Higbee got 11 targets.
That's wild. That's outrageous. That won't happen. Again, that's what I'm saying. That won't happen. Like, it's too early. It's too early on Allen Robinson. I don't know if it's too early on Cam Akers. Maybe it is. Like, maybe we'll be eating these words and, like, I'll look stupid in this pocket. In all fairness, I was never in on the Cam Akers thing. I think if you even go back, honestly, if we go back and look at why we were all in on Cam Akers, it was like a good playoffs 3 years ago, and that's it. And there really hasn't ever been anything else. And again, now I know I sound brave saying this after he had a shitty first game, but I don't have him in any of my leagues. I've never been on Cam Akers. I think if you go back to one of our other podcasts, I shit talk Cam Akers at some point.
Yeah,
I actually think I shit talked when Lippy took him in like the second round of one of the last podcasts. So. hopefully there's a record proving that I have this take. But
for the most part, all of us have been out on Cam Akers, which is what made that pick so surprising.
Who beat him up? Like, was that Lippy? I feel like that's Lippy.
It was not. It actually is even more unfortunate.
I threw some bids in there too.
No,
I was bidding. I had him up to like 12,
so
and I bailed.
I'm wondering if I can see this on the results. Kcole, I'm very sorry to have remembered this. He was at like $20, and then Kcole jumped the gun to 40.
Oh, that's again. Sorry, dude. I don't know who you are, but like that's brutal.
No, yeah, Kcole immediately tried to say like just flag him down.
It was super unfortunate.
40.
There was
but I don't
huge...
think he like did it by accident. I think he actually wanted to bid like $40. Like this is what I want to get, you know.
It was right after Edmonds went for.
Because I did that with AJ Brown.
It was right after Edmonds went, and then Kareem Hunt was the next running back after.
Sometimes you gotta do that. Sometimes you gotta do that because it does
strike
fear into people to be like, okay, he's not going to bid up now because now it's in a range where I wouldn't pay a fucking.
Yeah, it's a good deterrent, but.
And it worked.
It's got to be a good
I mean, yeah, he got him. I don't know. It's that's tough.
Just look at all the starting, and this isn't more fluffing for me, but just look at the starting wide receivers, like the good ones. And I think it's the same thing you were saying, how like the premium running backs look really tough, but some of these like dead zone RBs, like Henderson and like these good solid handcuffs that could have upside did go for values, but like the ones that were starters, like bona fide starters, were well overpaid. I think, like, not even the stars, because there's like the high tier.
Curn, you keep saying that the dead zone running backs were overpaid. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I have the exact opposite take. I think that was the value.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is I'm saying the premium the premium running backs went for a shit ton, and then the value ended up being like these dead zone. Like some of the dead zone ones
I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah, no. And then by contrast, because smart people like Timo and I were able to get all the elite wide receivers for cheap. Suddenly, your paying price is like $27 for Allen Robinson and $16 for Juju. And God, like I just look at those values. Like you could have paid $10 or $15 more and gotten someone who's just so leaps and bounds better. And that's kind of that's my least favorite part about this is like you
or
like Terry McLaurin's
for
fine.
DJ Moore. Who knows?
Like Terry McLaurin's fine, but like to your point, you could have paid $9 more and gotten DJ Moore. You could have paid $7 more and gotten T Higgins. You could have paid $10 more and gotten someone better. It's like why settle for these?
Curn,
Jerry Jeudy and Terry McLaurin,
like 18-wheeler cutting you off, plowing over whatever you're saying. That's really rude. But
all right, come on.
Am I crazy for hating Jalen Waddle? Like, is that take going to age really poorly? I have always been a Jalen Waddle hater. I don't particularly know why. I just have zero faith in that working out. I mean, and I think, okay, Tyreek can work out.
He showed out like a rookie, though, and did really well. It's just, I mean, like, and I tend to really overbuy into wide receivers that prove it their rookie year, which might be a very
But now two is thrown to Tyreek. Like, I just don't believe in a wide receiver, too. I just don't.
I think it's all about how they run that offense. I think that if they embrace the short passing game and like a lot of almost very college like Pac-12-y, where they're just like running a lot of drags, a lot of quick slants, I think he's going to end up being pretty good. I think if they try to do a lot of the like deep passing game, the overs and I don't think it's the receiver or the quarterback. Like I'm not all in on Tua, but I'm also not all out on Tua. I don't think that offensive line can block long enough for him to get the ball down the field. And like that's the issue is like, do they embrace what they can do, which is Tua being accurate in the quick game, or do they try to force what they want to do, which is take advantage of the fact that they have like all sorts of speed down the field? That's my question. It's like let's see this offense, but like I get the skeptical nature of it. I'm not a huge Jalen Waddle guy, but I just took him in a startup this last weekend because he fell a little too far, and I do think there is a path to I think there's a decent path for him, especially like let's say Tua does hit, like let's say it does all fall in place this year, and they just can find somebody to block for him on the right side of that line. This team could be fucking good. This team could be fucking good.
Yeah, my counter to you, King, who would say for let's go. I'll even use ANF Team as an example. For $8 more, you could have had DJ Moore. For $6 more, you could have had T Higgins, and for $13 more, you could have had CD Lamb. Like that's my point. Just looking at these wide receivers, like him, Rashad Bateman, these guys, like compared to where you could have gotten, like even Stephon Diggs, I would have rather paid. Fuck, I would rather pay $23 and just secured Stephon Diggs. You know,
No,
I would sacrifice
100%.
him. Yeah, like say Cam Akers actually goes for what he's worth, like $20. Like I would have sacrificed Cam Akers to secure Stephon Diggs instead. I would trade Cam Akers and Jalen Waddle in a vacuum before the first snap of the season for Stephon Diggs. Like that's kind of my thought process of the wide receiver disparity.
Yeah, you're not gonna hear me disagree. I 100% agree with that evaluation. I just don't think it's an inherent. I was talking about more about like my thoughts on the player as opposed to the value there.
Oh sure, yeah, no, I like Jalen Waddle fine. Like I think he's Did I take him to LSU? No, I didn't take him to LSU. I don't know. He's fine. Like I think he's actually gonna be pretty safe. I think he's gonna like I don't think he's gonna bust. I just don't know if he's gonna like be a huge difference maker for your squad. You know?
Yeah. Again,
And I think the problem is I think that's kind of what you're hoping for because like unless MT returns to his glory, which I don't see happen. I think MT's gonna be good, but I don't see him being wide receiver one good.
No.
I don't see Bateman being wide receiver one good. So like this team needs, which I do. And again, I do like this team, but this team
Adam
needs.
Thielen has the best bet to do it. Adam Thielen has the best bet of like sneakily being a top 15 wide receiver. I'm so in on the fucking Minnesota Vikings passing game. I'm so in.
Oh,
I know you love to hear it.
Kirk Cousins, let's go.
I think you're going to see so much juice, but yeah. But I think like for his roster setup, I think he should have taken some more like. I mean, it's a lot of risky wide receiver plays to like pan out, but I guess you get Mark Andrews to like bunker down the floor.
I do think the number one thing this roster should have done differently is swap Mahomes
draft Lamar.
Lamar, yeah. Like if you put Lamar on this team,
I just lean into it.
I get exactly what they're doing, and it's like it's risky, and there's a good chance you don't even make the playoffs. But like, if Lamar goes fuck you MVP season, and then they didn't pay him, then you win. Like that's how you win the league.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be so sick, Jonah. You should take that away and make a nice little offer to Mr. Team over there.
Mahomes for Lamar, 1-for-1. Who says no?
I honestly think like I get why you wouldn't do that if you're the person who drafted Mahomes because I think in a vacuum he's better. But like honestly, for this team, it would take so little. Like what does he have that he could throw in here? What does he need? What does
Jamison Crowder? Throw a Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, like I honestly,
I'm all for leaning into. Yeah, like I like that draft strategy.
You know what?
More. Like,
fuck it. Give me Drake. Like seriously, Lamar and Drake for fucking Patrick Mahomes. I probably do it. Like let's fucking go. You can just cut Justin. You can just cut Justin Fields straight up and just like you're done.
There's so many stacks in this league, which makes me speak to like the growth of everyone here. Like you need to lean into your takes fully. Like if you're going to take a stance, like if I'm going to sit here and say I'm going 0 RB because I think Jalen Hurts is that dude, I better get fucking AJ Brown and just put my nuts on the table. You know.
Well, if you're sitting here, Kevin, like you're saying, if you're sitting here saying you're going 0 RB, you can't
draft Rashad Penny.
You can't tilt and take Rashad Penny for $21.
Yep. I know. but if you do it anyway, but if you still do it like 3/4 of the way, you need to get AJ Brown if you're going to do it.
I hope the Broncos just mash Penny onto the fucking dirt. I hope it. Yeah, I hope he gets 4 points, Curn. Oh, Curn.
No, I legit think he's going to be RB1 after this week. Like I think he's going to get.
Oh, don't say that, Hoot. I play Curn this week. Don't say that.
Penny gets the whole backfield to himself. Fucking. Let's talk about Kenneth Walker.
Geno Smith is the running back one.
Kenneth Walker at 15 might have been my number one dislike pick.
Who got him? Who picked him?
Lippy.
His bench is pretty confusing. I mean, like the Devontae Smith for 12 is you're really buying into Devontae Smith. Like you're really buying into Jalen Hurts at that point. And Dallas.
This was also this was such a weird draft from Lippy, not because I think it's bad, but because it is so different from how he has always drafted. Like he has never picked, or I mean maybe I'm completely off base when I say this, Curn. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I have never seen Lippy go out and get an expensive running back like Saquon at 64.
Usually he does what I do. Usually he gets these fucking dope ass wide receivers, dude. Like I came in kind of knowing I was going to do that based on like the 4 first picks. So I thought he was going to be duking out me for these dudes because I mean, like I know he's high on these wide receivers. I mean, but he saw value in Saquon and I guess tried to like hold his shekels and value draft his bench like $6 Olave, $15 Walker. Like just combine Olave, Walker, Kirk, Devontae. Like
The
they're all
Palmer
fine
pick
players.
is
But
nice. The Palmer pick is nice.
combine all those players and maybe like Allen Robinson and just pay up and get fucking Stephon Diggs, you know? Like what's the risk there? And then you have Barkley, Saquon, these 2 dope running backs, Stafford, and I don't know, you can take shots on these fucking $2 turds that everyone has. Like I think that would have been a nice pivot by Lippy. But,
I also think that we would be higher on Lippy's team, in full honesty, if Stafford and Robinson have a good night. I really think we would be.
that's also fair. It's a very poor taste to look at that and see.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's definitely tough, but I'll end on this by saying yes. I think the Rashad Penny. The reason I paid so much for him is because just
you
for me
tilted?
personally, out of that whole tier of dead zone RBs, he's my favorite because he's an offense that likes to run.
That's disgusting.
I think he's a good running back. It's just whether or not he stays healthy. And at the point where I was at, it was like,
Curn,
okay,
I thought we were about to sign off, but that is just such an awful thing to say. First of all,
you don't think so?
no, I hate Miles Sanders, but I'd much rather have him at 11 than Rashad Penny. Josh Jacobs
sure.
at 25 beats the dick out of that pick.
I didn't know you were going to be a fucking douchebag and just bid up Rashad Penny the entire fucking way, ANF. I thought I was going to get him for like 15.
You could have let me have him, Curn. You could have stuck me with him.
Well, hold on. Let's. I actually forget the bidding up. I just want to so straight up, Kev. No dollar values. Just straight up, Rashad Penny or
Kareem
Clyde.
Hunt.
No, I'm starting with Clyde. I'm gonna get to Kareem Hunt later because I know Kareem Hunt. He's not gonna go. But I'm just starting with the first one I saw. So Rashad Penny or Clyde.
No dollars.
No dollars.
No dollars. I
up.
guess. Take Clyde in a nutshell.
Okay, Rashad Penny or David Montgomery. That's David Montgomery, clearly. If you're taking Clyde, then okay, then never mind. Okay, Rashad Penny or Chase Edmonds?
Rashad Penny.
Rashad Penny or Kareem Hunt?
I would probably take the. It depends on my team construction. I mean, I don't know, man. That's close.
Rashad Penny or Antonio Gibson?
That's also close because I have a bad taste in my mouth about Antonio Gibson. That's close.
Rashad Penny and Dameon Pierce.
Probably Dameon Pierce for the upside, just because he's. I mean, a really shitty offense, but I mean, I'll take the narrative upside there.
Rashad Penny versus Miles Sanders.
I'll take Rashad Penny. I would take Rashad Penny 100 times.
Okay, so I would have probably taken pretty much all of those guys over Rashad Penny, but I don't dislike Rashad Penny. But just for the reference for the people at home who aren't looking at the draft board right now, Chase Edmonds went for more, Clyde went for more, every other person I listed went for less.
Yeah.
In Miles Sanders' case,
I think that those guys all went in a weird order, and honestly, I think Rashad Penny was one of the last guys left, and that's
I'm not. Again, this wasn't an anti-Rashad Penny take. This was just the value of how auction drafts end up changing, and that's the beauty of an auction draft is snake value stays kind of linear. People take reaches, but it's pretty linear.
Rashad Penny was one of the last running back drafted in general, and he happened to be on my team, and because I'm in a league full of guys, because they want to see me fail, because I'm the supreme curb lander who runs the whole league, and I leave under Irish straw, and I burn their maggot eyes with my fucking beam eyes. Because of that, they all want to see me fail. So I should have saw it coming. I kind of saw it coming. I was like, okay, we're at the very end. there's Rashad Penny, and then there's Brian Robinson, Isaiah Pacheco, like Khalil Herbert. I'm like, I kind of need Rashad Penny and come home with him. And sure enough, I see little ANF's little beeper just bit him up every fucking 5 seconds. And I should just let you fucking sit with him. But I was my emotions got the best of me, and I was like, fuck you, you piece of shit. I will get him. Suck my dick. My starting lineup is raw. I will build the bench with my pristine, just $1 and $2 draft picks. And I think I did a good job with my bench. I'm fine with my bench. I have Jameson Williams on the IR. I actually do like Wandale Robinson as a sleeper. And
I really like
running
Wandale. Yeah.
All these shitty running backs just fit my mold. Regiga Chad White, I really like. Isaiah Pacheco, I honestly don't really care for. But J.D. McKissick, I really like. And you know what? If Brian Robinson is what he is, then my team looked really fucking solid in 4 weeks when I've survived on Mike Davis and Rashad Penny. That is the case for my team. I will survive for 4 or 5 weeks with this team until I need to make some sort of move.
Yeah. I don't hate it. I just love that I can tie you so relentlessly to the albatross of Rashad Penny around your neck. It's just that's the spectacular.
If you look at the most recent LXP draft that we just took, I mean, it goes against everything I believe in. In a pure snake draft, I will take the value on running back because it makes sense. Like DeAndre Swift goes for less than Stephon Diggs. Like, it just happens to work that way. In this draft, it doesn't fucking happen. So I don't want to be the silly goose with the look at that. I'd rather have my team than Hunter's team. And my fear was Kyle Pitts and Jalen Hurts. I had to fucking pivot.
Curn. The Rashad Penny pick was a mistake, and that's okay.
It was
Curn, I want you to say those words out loud.
Looking back.
No. Rashad Penny. Say it with me. Rashad Penny.
I don't know if it was a mistake.
Rashad Penny was a mistake, and that's okay.
I think this week, I got that ass because I have Rashad Penny alone in the backfield, fucking just wheeling and dealing.
This is bargaining. Curn, say it with me. Rashad Penny at $21 was a mistake, and that's okay.
It was. It was.
This is fucking hilarious.
Mistakes.
Curn, your draft was awesome, but Rashad Penny for $21 was a mistake, and that's okay. Facts.
I'm not ready to go there yet. I'm not ready.
Okay.
If Rashad Penny comes out and if he gives your sweet cheeks 20 carries,
Josh Jacobs was $4 more.
No, straight up. ANF, you have to weekly. This has to be a reoccurring segment for this entire year of this podcast. It's just going week in, week out, asking Kevin if Rashad Penny was a mistake or not.
All I'm saying is, look at last year. Let's just play the fucking what if game. Week 16, he plays the Bears. Or look, I'll give him fucking Week 16, he plays the Bears, 17 carries, $135 and a touchdown. If he comes out and does that this week, just hypothetically.
Curn, fuck this week. I'm like,
look at his last.
Allen Robinson had 2 targets. I guess Lippy should drop him, right? Fuck this week. That's not what I'm talking about. Curn, for $21. Yeah, I'm like, dude, obviously. Isaiah McKenzie might be a wide receiver 2 or 3 this week because he got a touchdown. That doesn't mean that he should have gone for more than Allen Robinson.
I was told that boom bust players are prime because if they win you games, they win you games. And if I get week one against your fucking juggernaut little fucking ANF,
it is a juggernaut team. That is the only true thing you've just said.
If taking Rashad Penny for 21 over fucking foul Miles Sanders and fucking Chase Edmonds and all these guys who suck and CEH and all these guys who blow, if taking them, you know what? I changed my tune. Fuck CEH. I would take Rashad Penny over CEH. But if taking him gives me a position this week to beat you in a division matchup week 1, it is worth it.
Curn, but you didn't draft Rashad Penny to beat me week 1. That's not
certainly not. We drafted him because we needed a fucking running back in our RB1 slot, and he was the last one. I was not going to put.
I have to win this week. If
I
you
was
win
not
this
gonna
week,
put
you'll
in
have
Dwayne well.
justified it in your head. I need Derrick Henry to just fucking smoke you. Because if you win this week, in your head, you will justify the penny pick, and you will not, like, Curn, I want this for you. I want this for your growth. I want it to come to a point where you can say Rashad Penny for 21 was a mistake, and that's okay. But if you win, Curn, you'll never get there. You will, in your little Curn featherhead, convince yourself that, fuck, it was actually a good pick. But Curn,
Probably. All
Derrick
right.
Henry's about to
I'll give
drop
you this.
42 on you.
I'll give you this. I'm looking at where the value went elsewhere. I would not have paid $21. It was a mistake.
And,
Does that make you feel better?
and you get to say this too.
It's okay.
That is okay.
No,
it's okay,
it's not
Curn.
okay. Because I don't make mistakes. I am fucking flawless, and I am supreme, and I am constantly hitting at such a hit rate. If you look at the legacy points, you look at the cash flow chart, I am just beating on all cylinders. So
Oh, my
it's not
God.
okay. It's not okay, but I will have proper daddy punishment if it turns out to be a poor decision. we will rectify the situation in house.
Curn,
But
I think you deserve you to pat yourself on the back there. That was good, real personal growth right there in the span of 10 minutes.
we strive for progress, not perfection.
Yeah, you're listening and learning.
But how does it feel to have T. Higgins in the flex? Let's all just take a moment to realize how prime that is. That is delicious.
I mean, that's all right.
It's
Curn.
juicy. It's very juicy.
It's so juicy.
I might argue.
So juicy.
I might argue AJ Brown is your flex. Is probably what I would argue.
Yeah, I actually would agree
I'd
with
probably
that.
take it. I think T. Higgins is fucking awesome. I would actually, you know what? I'll buy that. I'll take AJ Brown in my flex.
Yeah,
Which is still fucking juicy.
which is great. Not quite as super as Mike Davis's RB2, but that's probably where we should wrap it up, gentlemen. It has been a pleasure. I'll send out a little blurby when this goes on to the
How long was the runtime on
World
this?
Wide Web. Let's see, what are we looking at here? Probably like 2.5 is what I'd guess. 245. Longer show, but a lot of great stuff, and I think stuff that is actually a very good, honest reflection on these teams, especially mine being dubbed a juggernaut. God damn, what just a beauty to look at. But thank you both for your time and for your insight. Thank you, Monstar and Lippy, who are gone now. And gentlemen, to everyone other than Curn, I wish you a fantastic week one, and I look forward to recapping week one. Thank you both very much.